Shalom, brothers and sisters. What a blessed day. All praises to the Most High. This is a Sabbath broadcast for our brothers and sisters who know or don't know that every Friday at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, when the Sabbath is beginning, we try to gather with our brothers and sisters, some of our digital disciples join in at this time. We know everybody can't join. There's a lot of people in other countries, but we've gotten people have salivated for some content like this to hear the opinions of other believers. And that's what we wanted to do. So we're doing that today. This is episode 4. Okay, this is episode 4, Battle of the Sexes, right? We have a lot of questions that would be perspective, right? What is the perspective of a man? What is the perspective of a woman? And then we'll go from there. So I want to show you all the first video.
No man is intimidated by any woman because of her credentials. That's not the case. It's usually the character and traits that come with that. They usually have extremely high egos, and you can't tell them anything. And they usually come off extremely masculine. Like what you said you can be masculine, and it might be too much for men. It's an attraction thing. Men are not attracted to masculine traits in women. That's what it is.
I don't think that's necessarily true, because someone who, for example, I've known men who were intimidated and jealous because I had a college degree and they did not. It's not just the trait that came with that. It was, I have a diploma, they did not. It's not just my quote-unquote masculine traits that was a turnoff.
I would say that might be unique to him, but generally, it's the traits that come with it. It's not the degree, it's the traits.
Okay, so the question is, are men intimidated by successful women? All right, if you're giving advice to a sister, a daughter of yours, right, or a son of yours, right, a cousin of yours, right, not just from your experience, right? Because this is not necessarily just about our experience. We have thousands of people that watch these. So the question is, are men intimidated by successful women? We're living in a time where women have more success than ever before in the history of civilization. Sisters are making more money than any time in the history of civilization. Sisters are working outside of the home more than any time in the history of civilization. And we want to know your opinion. Are men intimidated by successful women?
I believe men lack emotional intelligence is what causes them to feel like women are being overly masculine when they are successful. Now, granted, there are women that is overly masculine, and it's by their actions. It's the way that they move and stuff they say. Like, they just hard. But then there's women that's not hard, and they just have this demeanor about them. They can articulate themselves if they are feeling the way, or, they want to express that. We can express that openly. And when a man is not emotionally available, they look at it as, oh, you're being too much, or oh, you feel like because you smart, you can't almost say anything, and not just from my experience, but in my experience, I was dating this guy, and it was funny because I was expressing to him that I was understanding what he was saying from, I said, do you want me to understand this from a street perspective or educated? Because the words that you're using mean this. And if you're saying it as slang, I'm not interpreting it as that. And we got into it because it was like, okay, miseducated, and I wasn't saying it like that. I was pretty much just trying to understand, what did you mean by this? Did this word actually means this? But are you saying it because this is a word you use in the street, or because help me understand, and then I can go from there. So I really believe that it's just some lack of communication, in that conversation, the man and the woman is not being open enough. Men go into the situation already on edge because they already got strikes against them. You know what I'm saying? They feel like I got to be making a certain amount to get her attention, or I got to be, ready to lead, depending on what kind of woman you're coming at. And they just, it, everybody just already formulated opinion when they came in. Like you said, egos is high. And the moment you say something, it's more conflict than getting to know the person. And that's where all of it comes from. For me personally, I get it all the time, and I'm very soft. I'm always coming into a situation and meeting somebody like I'm looking for a man that feel y'all. I'm 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 already discerning if you even are the person for me, because you should be saying a certain thing to me coming into the situation when you're meeting me. So I'm already like, yeah, now, my heart like, okay, be open to what you gotta say, and then my spirit is like, girl, run to the left, so in that in all of those situations, I'm like, hey, yeah, you're not the one. And then when I do that, oh, you think you better, and
So
and
are you saying, sister? Oh, I'm sorry to interject, sister.
no,
I
you're
just
fine.
want to ask a qualifier. So
Yeah,
you're saying from your perspective, they do seem a bit intimidated
yeah.
by a sister that does have success, right?
Yeah, because this internalized, it's their own demons that they
Right,
dealing with.
right.
It's something that they need to
That's
reflect,
deep.
on themselves. Like, look at yourself in the mirror and say, why do I feel this way? Don't
That's
say
deep.
it is her. Say, why do I feel this way?
That's
Because
deep.
unless a woman is coming and she drinking 40 ounces, smoking a black and mild, listen, we good here. You got to give her some grace. If she's saying thank you, please, she being real polite. Why do you still feel intimidated when the moment
Mm,
that she expresses how she feels, that's when all hell breaks loose. Soon as you express
wow.
how you feel, if they do something that's out of character, or they showing traits of
Mhm.
not being present emotionally, shutting down, not wanting to have a conversation, a real conversation about the stuff they doing, taking accountability, any of that. The moment that you even address it, you aggressive.
Okay. Well,
You
that makes
you
sense.
not submissive. You you know what we talking about here? And it's like, yeah, I'm good.
So Sister Cherie says yes. Many men, and obviously we're not speaking in totality, right?
Right.
We're just speaking on a most level. Jump in here, brothers and sisters. Sister Sharice, check, says she believes that many men are intimidated, and it's more so something, it's an internal issue. That's deep. That is deep. What do you think?
I concur. So I'll go ahead and agree. And hello, everyone. Sorry I was late. Um, but I'll also say that it also depends on the type of man that you're talking to. Because if we're talking about worldly men, then for sure. But a man of God should not feel that way. He should be following the Lord in the first place.
Mhm.
And when I was watching that video, that brother had some really good points. I mean, like some of the things he said was like the traits that come with it. Because um, when you get into a position of power as a woman, let's say, like it does cause some masculine things because you have to be the boss, you have to lead, you have to tell people what to do. So there might be like little small things that you're doing that's a little bit masculine that you don't even realize until somebody tells you, like, hey, bring that down a notch. And then you're like, oh, you're right. So, and it does become hard because we have to be in the workplace. We're living in Babylon, basically in slavery. And so we have to be in the workplace. There's no way you can survive the way you could survive with one income today. Like, so we're kind of forced into this. And so if we want to get a job that's going to, sustain our family, we have to go get these degrees. And then you have the indoctrination that comes along with that. So it's kind of hard to like, differentiate between the two and making sure that you're okay, making sure don't get too indoctrinated, and then I also have to be feminine and not masculine. I have to be the boss, but not be the boss. So it's really hard on women. I think people don't take that into consideration as well. But I do agree with what the guy was saying from my personal experiences. And again, it depends on the woman and it depends on that man. So it's all in how you take it.
That's a good
That's what
point.
I have
That's a
to
good point. So when you're landing this plane, are you saying you believe that men are slight? We're just speaking on a general level, right? Because we
Yeah.
know, okay, so generally you do
And I
believe.
say
Okay,
yeah because it's emasculating to men.
sure, sure.
Because a man is supposed to be the leader. So that's
Okay.
kind of puts you out of turn, and
Hmm.
out of order, and with
Mm.
women too. So I can
Okay.
understand why he feels that way. He may not even know he's
Hmm.
feeling that way, but
Hmm.
you're feeling that way because it's emasculating.
Good
I
point.
agree with
Good
you,
point.
Janelle, but to a certain extent. And the only extent is because men go into majority of the men in the world or godly, they come into situations with women who already have families, children. They coming into these situations with children and no man in the household. Now, unless they come in directly to step up, and which they don't, they come in creeping around and seeing, where they could get in and fit in. That's where the problem comes in because that's my situation, right? So if I'm this woman who's always held everything down, I need a man to come in and immediately pick up those responsibilities. And if he's not able to pick up those responsibilities immediately, he becomes a problem. And yes, I may very well show some masculine traits because I'm a leader in my home and I need you to lead. So I'm initially coming out and say, hey, you gotta lead, and I have to be able to follow you. If I
Yeah.
don't feel in my heart that I can follow you, that's a problem because you're not leading me into the pits of hell.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I have to follow you blindly. And where men get that messed up at and they don't have no grace, they want to come in and tell you what to do in a home that you already been holding up.
I
But
agree.
Mm.
having
That's a
some
good point.
grace and understanding where this woman came from and how
Mm.
can I get her to soften up? How
Oh,
can I get her to trust me?
you said
Girl,
more
me?
understanding, right? That's
Yes,
a good point.
Yes.
Sister Franzi, what are you thinking about what you're hearing here?
I
Are
agree.
you in agreement with these sisters? Sister Sharice, Janae are saying, and we see Angelique in there too. So we got some sisters in here. I know y'all got some opinions, right? Let's hear from Sister Franzi, and then let's hear from Sister Miles, and then we're gonna get some men's perspective on this.
Hmm.
And the question was, are men intimidated by successful women?
I'm gonna be honestly, or I'm trying to think, should I do politically or should I be
Oh
honest?
no, to be honest, sister. Just be
Okay.
honest. Don't do the political.
Okay. Honestly, I feel like a lot of our brothers are intimidated by successful women. Um, I feel like what I've been hearing, like they're not emotionally, they're emotionally, they're just not attached to women, and they want to, they forget that they want to play the hierarchy thing, but without the responsibility. So if you need to be a leader, okay, it's you, God, you, and then me. You want to be the leader, you have to understand that you're going to have to take over certain responsibilities. You just can't come into my home that's already built. Usually I tell these guys that you need to go find an 18-year-old because it's just too much. You can't come into a house that's already established, that's already has a foundation, and then you're going to tear it down. You have to build on top of it. You have to
Mm,
build to improve it. You can't just want to come and tear what I've built up because you feel like what you have is better. No, I've already made a life. You're going to come and improve my life. And in order for you to take over my life, you have to show me, you have to prove it that you have to prove that you're worthy, and you have to prove to me that I can trust that you can take care of me.
mm,
And
great
not
point.
only me, my family. So
Hmm.
when I mean me, because usually us women, I'm going to say my age, we come with baggage. It's not only, it's me and my baggage. So you can't, I feel like a lot of men, they, they come, they come into a relationship having these expectation and they want a person to mother them, but at the same time they want to rule. It's like you can't have it. No,
Mm,
can't have it both ways. It's only one way. If you want to be the ruler, you're going to have to take on the responsibilities.
mm.
Okay. And
Oh,
I'm not saying, and I always say this, I'm not saying a man has to make the same amount of money that I do. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is you have to make sure you come in as a leader. First of all, soften me up by doing what you're supposed to do as a leader and
mm.
lead by example, not just tell me what to do.
Wow.
And then because a lot of men they want to come in and tell you what to do. It's like, excuse me, um, the mortgage is this amount. Did you pay that? So soften me up is like, no, no, you don't come in and barking orders. Why don't you, if you see that there's things that needs to be done to the house, why don't you try to lighten up the load a little bit?
Mm,
Maybe take over the light bill. Or if you see the grass needs to be mowed and you see me out there, maybe come out there and just do it. So,
mm,
but don't, I mean, a lot of men, they just want to come in bark orders and then they want to say that we're masculine.
mm,
Unfortunately, and I said this in one of our episodes, it is not our fault when the responsibility is left to us and we just take over. It's going to bring out that trait because it takes two in a family. But
mm,
at the same time, if you're going to come in, and if to me, if you come in with the good intentions and if you come in, if you're a godly man, if you're a man that a believer, I feel like you need to have another perspective. You don't just look at a woman and then automatically feel like, oh, because you're making money. No, look at the other stuff. Look at
mm,
the other stuff. Peel out the onions a
mm,
little bit. Peel the onion and you find how good the onion is. Peel it.
mm. That's a great point.
So
That's a great point.
I in my personal, now I'm gonna go personal.
Hmm.
Yes, when
Okay.
a man that's not making the same or more money than I am, usually
Hmm.
I get the attitude that, oh, you think you're better than I am, you do this because you're more educated than I am or because
Hmm.
you make more money than I do. But if a man is making the same amount or the more than I do, I don't get that. But it is a man's
Hmm.
responsibility to take care of me. It's not the other
Hmm.
way around.
Hmm. That's a great point, sister.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I'm able to take care of myself, yes, but I'm not going to take care of you. It's your
That's
responsibility to
a
take
point.
care of me, and not only financially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It's your responsibility to lead, and you
Yeah.
have to make sure emotionally you don't put your emotions into this.
Hmm.
So, and the thing is, they're immature. They're emotionally immature, so it's very hard. So that's why there's a lot
Hmm.
of single older sisters out there.
Hmm. That's a great point, sister. Let's hear from a man. Let's get brother Kevin. Jump in here, brother. The question is, are men intimidated by successful women? And we don't just mean you, right? We're speaking generally speaking, right? What do you believe is going on with men when it comes to successful women? What are you thinking, brother?
Well, I don't believe that all men are intimidated by successful women. I believe men are unattracted to and rebuffed by the haughty and masculine spirit, which comes with a lot of these women's academic accruements and their capital gain. Um, I also believe it's very important to have grace on our brothers because it's often overlooked or easily forgotten that here in Babylon, they've done an exceptional job at plundering our brothers and propelling our sisters. Um, I believe it's important to also remember that a lot of us don't have a template of what a Christ-like or a God-given relationship looks like because our fathers weren't there. Um, so I believe it's important for us to have grace with each other um, in spite of our accomplishments academically or economically. Um, I don't feel that uh, a lot of men are, like I said, intimidated by women. There's quite a few, obviously, who are, but I do definitely believe it comes with the spirit, which can easily be adopted or comes along with these Babylonian uh, rewards, so to speak.
Mhm. So brother Kevin says he says a lot. He according to what I'm understanding, you're saying that you don't believe majority of men are, but sometimes when you're successful, um, and they used to call girls bossy, right? Because they want to lead. Back when we were young, they would call it bossy. But you're saying, a lot of men don't know their role in particular because they haven't really, on both sides, really have not seen what the proper relationship looks like. So you said there should be some grace there, but you don't believe that men are, by and large, intimidated by women who may have a level of success where, hey, you meet this woman and she's driving a $60,000 car, right? Does that say, hey, no, I don't want that type of sister. Now let me look for something else. And you say you don't believe that is the case.
I don't, because quite frankly, if we're being honest, especially the men on here, we know a lot of men who, when they have a girl who's essentially bossed up, they're like, they see it as a come up. They're like, man, we riding good, we doing good, I'm eating good. I mean, so it doesn't deter a lot of men from wanting to get with these women. Now, there are those men who will see that and be like, okay, I got a free ride, and I'm gonna milk the cow and take whatever I can as long as I possibly can. But there's some men, righteous men, who actually see it as, okay, it was a blessing, and now let's go together. She has obviously a little bit of a greater platform or whatnot, and together we can now, do something as a unit. So that's how I see it.
Mhm. It's a
There's
great point,
one
brother.
man for every 50 women. Because there are not many. And it's sad to say. But
Yeah.
when you say about grace, you can't get these men grace because they play in your face. You can't.
Good point.
So the grace
Good
is
point.
thrown out the window. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I've given grace, and I am very graceful.
Mhm.
I believe my
Mhm.
name Cherise, meaning in Greek and French, is grace. I've given
Grace.
grace a lot.
Okay. Mhm.
But I've noticed that when you do, like Sister Frenzy, that's her name,
Bronzy, yeah.
Franzi, what she was saying about the money part, you don't even have to tell a man that you make more money than him. If he see you moving a certain way and he assume that you can handle everything, they will sit around and wait for you to ask them to do something before they do it. You see what's going on around here, and you just standing around waiting for me to ask you to put a light in. Could you pick this bag up? I need to go over here and do this. Okay, now you looking like a do boy, and now I have no respect for you because I don't like asking for something. You're sitting here watching the whole situation go on, and all you
Mm.
have is commentary. You're not stepping up. You're not stepping in. You saying you want to be together, and you're trying to do it the right way and all this. But what are you looking for? It's like we're as women, we're always having to prove our love. No, I'm ready to receive love, not prove it.
Mhm. Absolutely. That's a
And
good
that's
point.
what we should be doing as righteous women. We should be receiving love. If a man is coming in and you're feeling like you have to prove your love and yourself to them before you can receive love,
Mhm.
that's not the man.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's get Sister Miles first, Sister Danielle, and then we're going to go to Franzi. Sister
Okay.
Danielle, what do you think about this? Do you think most men are intimidated by successful women?
I think a portion. And I think it could be a few factors. One, if he doesn't really have anything going for himself,
Mhm.
and she's probably making more money, I can see how he can kind of be resentful, in a way. Also, I do feel like there are a portion of women who have these traits. I feel like we naturally, as we tend to, get the degrees, get the house, get the car, I do believe there's some kind of like vanity, some puffed up some esteem where you start looking down on people. And so maybe a woman in that relationship, she may look down on her man. I remember you saying something a while back, and it stuck with me that women, if they feel like they're smarter than you, they're not going to submit. And I think that's true. I think if she feels like she's going to have to be the leader or step up, then she's not. She's going to step back and probably step out. Um,
Mm.
but I don't think most men are intimidated, but I do think it's a turnoff, like with certain traits. Because to be honest, if roles were reversed, I wouldn't want to be with a man who just looks down on me. And I can understand where men come from, where you feel like a woman is looking down on you. How, you know, because again, you're supposed to be the leader. He's supposed to be the leader. So, it I do believe though, as far as like intimidation, I think it's a portion, just depending on, again, the factor. If he doesn't really have anything going for himself, and if he can't if he feel like he can't provide, then I
Mm.
think there will be like maybe an intimidation factor. But other than that, I don't think
That's a
it's
great point.
majority men, maybe a small
Okay.
portion.
Small portion. Now let me change the question here and let me get Sister Angelique in on this. Can a woman submit to a man who makes much less than her? What do you think, Sister Angelique?
Can a woman submit to a man that makes much less to her? Wow, sorry, much less than her?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna just keep it a buck and tell you no. And the reason is because a lot of women equate how much a man makes. And I'm not speaking to whether this is true or not. This is just conversations that I've had with women. They equate how much money a man makes with his ability to take care of her and how well he can do that and whether he has a 401k and different things of that nature. And this is women with and without jobs. So I think that a woman would prefer a man that she knows. And when I say, I'm not speaking for every single woman, I'm just talking about women that
Generally.
yeah, that generally that I've spoken with. But I think that it's all of this all of this. I'm listening to everybody talk. There's multiple layers to it. I think a woman can make it work with a man who makes less than her, doesn't make a lot. Um but if I think for a lot of people that they don't want to be with a partner, like it's two of us, why we shouldn't both be struggling. And so, that's why women become breadwinners, because they're by themselves. And then a woman feels like if a man comes into her life, he should be able to take care of her no matter who's the breadwinner. So uh, a lot of
Mm.
that a lot of that is where that comes from. And I know that you were
Okay.
asking that particular question, but going back to
Mm.
the other question, as far as
Mm.
if men are intimidated by women, I think there's a lot. To me, there seem to be a lot of factors in that. And one thing that I want to say is we're talking about emotional intelligence and all of those being part of it. What we forget as women is that men don't have men don't emotionally men don't have the same level of playing field that we do. And what I mean by that is we are taught to live in our emotions and express ourselves and say how we feel and demand people meet our emotions. Men, for the majority, are taught that they don't have emotions or to not deal with their emotions or to suck it up and go on. And for when we come from communities of color, men and women, it's a survival mindset. That's why we are taught that. It's a survival mindset. Just keep your head down, do the thing. So when we're talking about men who are coming and not ready to be with women emotionally, I think A, that's true on both sides. And two, it's unrealistic. And I'm not saying it's a woman's job to then have grace for him and teach him and all that. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's unrealistic to expect a man who maybe wasn't taught how to manage his emotions or deal with his emotions to then get in a relationship and then be expected to nurture his wife and his kids. he's just supposed to automatically know how to do that. It's almost like raising a kid till they're 18. You make all their decisions for them, and then you expect them to just magically wake up at 18 and expect them to know how to function in the world. That's just not reality. So
Mm.
everybody um, needs to be taught how to manage their emotions, how to regulate their emotions, conflict resolution, what healthy relationships look like, what the difference is between boundaries and control, all these different things. And I'm not saying this as somebody who has all the answers. I'm saying this as somebody who has done a lot of messing up and dated both good and terrible men. And the difference with between the good and terrible men is that I've been with, I've never had a man be intimidated by me, but I also know that part of that is I don't think men can be intimidated by women who don't have boundaries. And a lot of us do not start with great boundaries. Some of us do. Some of us don't start with boundaries. So I don't I don't think that men are necessarily intimidated by women. However, it can be confusing when you are trying to be with a woman who is used to doing everything on her own. It's confusing for both people because it's hard to as a woman, it's hard to let go of that role. It's hard to let go of that control and let someone come in and help you because you expect that you will have to do it, even if someone else does step in. And I do know for a majority of men that I've had conversations with, y'all were raised to be providers. You want to take care of your woman and be needed. And when you feel like she doesn't need you, that's confusing. So there's a lot to be intimidated by and a lot of things to consider when we're talking about that. It's there's a lot of role confusion, a lot of role blurring, and just a lot of um, lack of established uh, who's supposed to do what. And that's via the world we live in now. So that's what I have to say about all that.
Great point, sister. Great point. Very great points. I want to get Quran in here on this, and then I want to go to our next topic. Quran, I need you to answer both questions, brother. And though you be young, what do you perceive? Are men intimidated by successful women, which is the first question? And do you believe that a woman could submit to a man who makes much less than her? What is your opinion on this, brother, before we go to our next topic?
For the first question, I would say I don't have like enough expertise on that or enough like life experience, I would say, because women at my age are I wouldn't consider a lot of them successful yet. Like, this is the age where we're really like building. I'm only 19, about to be 20. A lot of people at this age yet are really like finding their career path and like starting their career or like in the midst of college. So it's not really, there's not many, I would say, successful people yet, or like men around me who are, you know, dating successful women yet. I would say that's probably more, I'll have more experience with that later in life, probably like 5 to 6 years. I'll have a better perspective on that. And for the second question, from what I've seen, most likely not. Uh, a woman dating a man like much lower in financially. I think like what I guess in this world, finances come with respect. I would say it's harder for a woman to respect a man who's making a much lower sum of money than her, especially because I think even though we're taught nowadays that independence, a lot of women are taught to be independent. I think like spiritually, like a woman wants to be taken care of. And like having a man who's not making nearly as much as her, like it's harder to be able to be taken care of by a man who's not making as much as you, especially. But I do know women who will get with a man who's like, who would be a bum. Like I've definitely seen women with guys who are bums who just play the game all day. They don't do much and they're really settling. And I don't really see none of those relationships working. So it's really like, do you want a relationship to work out? I think if the woman is making more money, it has to be relatively close, like not No, like she's making like $100,000 a year. He's making $35,000 a year. Probably more like he's making $80,000 and she's making $100,000. If she is making more money, that's my perspective on it.
So I want to, because it seems like you all want to talk on this a little bit more. Let's take another 5 minutes, but be considerate of the next person, so we can go to our next topic. Let me get Brother Kevin in here, and then let me get Franzi in here.
So, in regards to the second question, I do believe that a woman can submit to a man if she's making more, but I believe it only can happen if she's adhering to the Word of God, if she sees her man faithfully submitting to God, if the man is leading her righteously, pulling his own weight, and displaying loving affection. I do believe that those are the components in which I believe she will submit, even though she might be financially more prevalent than he is.
That's a great point, brother. Let's get Franzi in on this. So,
And I'm happy he said that because I don't think it's the finances. I think it's also leadership. Um, I've out of my life, I've always made more money than my partner. Always dating, um, my ex-husband, I've always made more money. It's the leadership that is important, and how much you care about the woman. How thoughtful are you with the woman, and what do you bring into the family? I don't think it's all about finances. Finances does play; it's very important. Um, right now, like Janae say, for both parties to be working is extremely hard for just one person to work in a family to make it. But I really don't believe it's all about the money. I just feel like leadership. And as far as grace is concerned, the same way that we have to be giving grace to the men, because most men did not have that father figure, or most men did not have those life teaching, is the same thing that we have to give grace to women also. Because when you have to take on the role of being a mother and a father, the masculine and the feminine role, those lines blur up even in your relationship, and it takes time for them to be removed and for you to trust that person.
it's a great point, sister. And I'll say, we'll land this plane here, but I'll say, I do believe that if a man doesn't know where his value lies in his leadership, and he sees himself as his value being determined by his finances, then I do believe he'll be intimidated. Absolutely. Because most brothers don't really know what their role is, because it was very easy to be a man 40 years ago, right? The woman's not working. He's the only one working. She's in the house. So he's automatically respected because he's bringing home the turkey bacon. Now, like Sister Cherie said, what happens is now most of these brothers come into something where the sister has her own house, she has her own car, she has her own children. So that can be frustrating to a man, because he doesn't know, okay, well, where is my value? The things I would give a woman to show her I love her and that I'm a leader, she already has. So I do believe that men who don't know the value of leadership, as you sisters are saying, and even Brother Kevin are saying, I do believe they will be intimidated by it, because they don't know what else they could bring to a relationship. And can a woman submit to a man who makes much less than her? I think she can. It'll be very difficult. His leadership would have to be godly leadership. If his leadership is not godly leadership, he's not loving her like Christ loved the church, I believe the answer is no. But if the man's finances is low, but he's up in every other area, I believe sisters, because most sisters are not, maybe young sisters are all about the finances, but most older sisters or middle-aged sisters who've taken care of themselves, it's not all that. If all the other areas, the other attributes are on 8 or 9, but the finances are on 5 or 6, I believe a sister would overlook that. I totally believe a sister would overlook that. Okay. So that's a great topic. That's going to be a great topic for brothers and sisters. Let's talk about platonic relationships. Okay, let's talk about this. Take a look at this video, brothers and sisters. What do you think?
Remember in the classic movie when Harry met Sally and the character played by Billy Crystal insisted men and women can't be friends? Well, hugely popular syndicated radio and talk show host Steve Harvey agrees in a big way. In his latest book on relationships, Straight Talk, No Chaser, Harvey tells me face to face why women who think he's just a friend are delusional.
All of my friends are men. I don't have female friends. I don't. I'm incapable of that.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, because come on.
Because you have a wife.
Well, I have a wife, and I don't really have female friends because look. Okay, let's get rid of this myth right here. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this. Let's get rid of this right here. You're an attractive woman. There's some guy somewhere saying, "Yeah, we're friends." No, that's not true. He's your friend only because you have made it absolutely clear that nothing else is happening except this friendship we have. We remain your friends in hopes that one day there'll be a crack in the door, a chink in the armor, and trust and believe that guy that you think is just your buddy, he will slide in that crack the moment he gets the opportunity. Because we're
most
guys.
Men think this way?
99.9% of us think that way. And you tell this to a woman and it just blows her back. No, I have male friends. You have male friends because they know it can be nothing else right now. I tell you what, all your male friends, just ask them in a friendly way. If I wanted to date you, would you be okay with that? And watch the fireworks.
All right. So, brothers and sisters, the question is, can heterosexual men and women be just friends? Can heterosexual men and women be just friends, right? And we're not just thinking you per se, right? Because there's exceptions to the rule, but just generally speaking, what do you believe?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
That is under no circumstances worldly, righteous. It is just not right. It is not. Because people, when you feel close to someone enough to tell them personal things, how I want to put this? You are building an emotional attachment, even if it's not with sex. You are still emotionally attached and in a relationship with that person that you are calling from. And I've seen several situations like this, to include my own daughter in my home. So my daughter is 19 years old. She met this guy, so she's trying to date. I'm all over it. I'm in the phone. I'm everywhere because I want her to stay pure until she get married. So I'm in everything. I'm just taking phone. Hey, give me your phone. Let me see what's in here. So I, she was dating this guy, and he seemed to be a nice young man. He actually goes to the same school as my son. My son is 21. He goes to AIM, which is the Aviation Institute of Maintenance. He's getting his A&P to be able to work on planes, roller coasters, whatever. They do hydraulics, they do all that good stuff. And even Jordan was like, "Hey, a nice guy, don't be getting into nothing." I mean, he a little on the feminine side, which he is. He was raised by his mother, so he real clean and particular and all of that. But we didn't hold that against him. He was like, okay, maybe he grew out of it, a little sassy. But he was a nice guy, real respectful. Brought me some roses over when he came to see Layla, stuff like that. Anyway, longer story short, he waited until they were in enough conversation where Layla was liking him and possibly seeing herself with this guy, right? And boom, he comes out with, "I have a best friend." Now, the best friend is a female, and how the conversation happened, She was on social media, and Layla seen him post something, and the girl had responded and was like, Layla screenshot it and was like, who is this? When he responded who it was, and all of his text messages communicating, he was sending whatever Layla was sending to the girl. A lot of her responses was crazy because in me reading it, I'm like, okay, she not happy for y'all at all. If you're reading this is how she really feels, and the little things that she's saying. I'm 46 years old. I'm like, Layla, this is what it is. And she looking at it, and she was like, yeah, I just don't like it at all because you always taught me that I shouldn't date anybody that have female friends. So we trying to talk about it. Longer story short, when she started dressing him with it, instead of him respecting how she felt, and if you really saw yourself a future with my daughter, you would have eliminated it. He was more so trying to convince her that everything was going to be okay. Let the girl is no threat. This is not going to be a problem. And then every time she said something, he over talked her in the conversation. He wasn't hearing her, he was just listening to respond. And even when he tried to put me in it and start texting me and I said something, he did it to me. I just stopped texting altogether because at the end of the day, you're not even reading what I'm saying. You're just responding. So I told Layla, look, you do what you want to do. I'm not going to tell you to continue to talk to him or not talk to him. But what I am going to tell you is that that's more than what it appears to be, because no man is fighting that hard to hold relationships that you claim doesn't mean anything. And then that happened to me as well. I was dating a guy, and he had multiple women that he was sexing, and he wanted me to believe that that was just, I just like having conversation with them. They have good conversation. But then when I see the messages, because you're showing me, it's too much personal stuff. I shouldn't be in a conversation about nothing when it comes to these female friends. And why would you ask them anything to get insight about us? Ask me. I'm here. They can't give you nothing. I can't give you better. So I just disagree altogether. I see no way that being okay. And with me, I have guy friends, but the moment that someone is interested in me, I don't have guy friends. They're not important. They are blocked. Don't communicate with me because I'm not putting myself in no situation that I have to be forgiven, explain, making up. I don't want to do none of that. I don't want to do recon. No, fix nothing. So we ain't even gonna put myself in a fix me situation. So yeah, I just disagree altogether. I can't see no way that
You're muted.
you're muted.
Oh, you made some great points, Sister Cherise, very distinct. So let's see what Janae, jump in here. What are you thinking about this topic? The question is, can heterosexual men and women be just friends? And we don't mean every single man and every single woman, because there's always exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, what do you think?
I think that single men and women may be able to be friends because I agree with Steve Harvey just said. There is like if the opportunity presents itself, then yes, it will happen. So I think once you become in a relationship, no, you don't got no more friends of the opposite sex. That's just out the door. I think that it can, because you never know what the other person is actually thinking, right? So you're in this relationship, and now this person may be thinking something else. That could cause some problems, right? So and I've seen it happen, and it can really cause some serious problems to a marriage because you're like, oh, this is my friend. No, that ain't your friend. So I feel like maybe if you're single, yeah, sure, you can have some male friends and female friends. That can happen, but once that relationship happens, absolutely not. That is disrespectful to your spouse, whether it's a man or a woman, vice versa. That's very disrespectful. And is that person worth your life supposed to be? Because you're getting a relationship to get married, right? You don't get in a relationship just to date, to just have somebody here for a time. Now, if that's what you're doing, then sure, you can continue on with your friendship. But if this is supposed to be your lifelong partner, then that's who's going to have your back. Whether that's your wife or your husband and vice versa. So to answer the question, no. But yes, if you're single, go ahead, do what you do. Mingle, single,
Okay.
mingle. Okay, that's
Great
so.
point. Great point. Those great distinctions that you ladies have made. Isaiah, as a young man, the question is, can heterosexual men and women just be friends? What's your opinion on this as a younger brother? You're on mute. We can't hear you.
I believe no. At least if you are in a relationship with another woman or the woman's in a relationship with another man, I believe no. Because that could as young I believe the majority of young men in the world, if you are what I've seen or like where I can like gather, if young men are in a relationship with another woman but still have woman friends hanging around, it could open doors to fornication for real. And yeah, that's what I think honestly. Like I don't think it could work, but like how my mom said, if you're single, possibly, but like still at the same time, not really for real.
Okay, that's a great point. Thank you. Angelique, jump in here, sister. What are you thinking on this topic? Just generally speaking, right? Can heterosexual men and women be just friends?
I agree with Janai that if you're single, that's possible. You can do that, but it is disrespectful if you are in a relationship, especially if you're in a serious, like a committed relationship that, and you and this person are going to have a future, then you cannot have you cannot have friends of the opposite sex because people that say I used to think that it was possible, but I actually agree with what you were saying. Eventually there comes a point at which I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Most of the people that I know, even our age, that are friends with people of the opposite sex, it is either friends like Steve Harvey was saying that are waiting for that break glass of in case of emergency moment, or it's somebody that they tried to date but it didn't work out. So then they agree they were better as friends.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people have, not everybody, but a lot of people have friends like that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of I got a bone to pick with this topic because something happened to me and it was the perpetrator was somebody that was my quote unquote friend, but apparently not so much. So um, you can be acquaintances with people of the opposite sex, but having deep, close personal friendships, nah.
That's a
Mm-mm.
great point. That's a great point. Let's get Kevin, brother Kevin, jump in on this topic. Let's hear from another man here. The question is, brother, can heterosexual men and women be just friends, generally speaking?
I do believe that if they're both single, they can, um, and also have laid out established ground rules. If they've talked about that, discussed that. I know I have in situations because I've had people say we should just be friends. And I know sometimes that that's an easily slippery slope. So I've had to be like, yeah, I'm open to friends, but has to be strictly friends because I'm not in a season in my life of wanting anything. I've had to talk to people in the past about that, and but they're like the sisters are saying, if they're married or in a relationship, definitely not, definitely not. So I believe what Steve Harvey said that there's the mass majority of men are waiting for an opportunity, and I think a lot of women are the ones who essentially put men in that friend zone. So
Wow, that's a great point. You're saying that um, women typically put men in the friend zone. They don't put themselves there. Is that what you're saying, brother?
yes, sir.
That's powerful there. Sister Danielle, jump in here, sis. Can heterosexual men and women be just friends, generally speaking?
No, but I think there are, like you said, exceptions to the rule. For me, I think attraction is the big thing because usually I think it has to be, um, it shouldn't be like anything sexual on both parties because even if it's one-sided, it won't work. But attraction is basically what brought y'all together in the first place. I think it is a slippery slope, but I think it can work. I don't think it can between a lot of people. It's kind of like the exception to the rule, just simply because, again, just as Steve mentioned and people on the podcast mentioned, it is people waiting, just kind of like in the cut, just waiting, just, hoping for their chance. But again, I think it can, just no attraction on both parts. And I mean in like a sexual way, of course, but
Okay.
or a relationship type of way, just strictly friends.
Okay, that's a great point. And you all made some great distinctions about, hey, if there's a relationship, if the person is in a romantic relationship, that this is probably not going to be able to happen or work. Sister Franzi, jump in here. What's your opinion on this, sister? The question is, can heterosexual men and women be just friends? Give us what you think on this.
I think it's possible. But like everyone is saying, it is a slippery slope. But I really feel like it is possible. I have friends for years, um, and I believe there's degrees of friends also, because I have friends that are from the opposite sex, and for years we've been friends, um, and we speak once in a while. They're not in my house every day, so I feel like there's a degree of friends. Um, we could meet up, um, if there's an event or things like that. And I have friends that I know their whole families, but we're just friends. So it's kind of like um, different, and it depends on cultural also. I feel like cultural um, plays a big deal on it because I can tell you in a cultural perspective, yes, that it can happen, but it is a slippery slope. But I feel like yes, it can happen.
Okay, that's a great point, sister. We really appreciate that. Karan, jump in here, brother. Can heterosexual men and women be just friends?
Like they already said, like multiple people already said, I believe if they're both single, yeah, I would say so. When I think about a friend, I think about somebody I can confide in, somebody I would, hang out with. And I don't know how I would feel if I came home and my woman was hanging out with a man, just them by themselves. It's different, just, if a dude's just hanging out with this guy or a female's hanging out with a female, but things happen and there are feelings there that build up that if people, men confide with their guys, when it comes to relationship, women confide to women when it comes to relationships. And I think like Sister Sharice was saying, the dude that was talking to her daughter was confiding in another female, and that's just odd to me. I don't know. I just don't think that's correct. It's just I don't agree with it.
That's a great point, brother. That's a really good point. I'll say I think of course, there's exceptions to the rule, but I know most sisters believe, hey, this could work, right? And it's because on their side, they're genuine. And I believe, most sisters only befriend men who they're not attracted to. And it's opposite for men. Most men, we typically don't befriend women that we don't think there's something she has to offer. Now that may be, I may can, you know, maybe I could get in there, maybe she has some type of connections. Maybe this is a sister that has a whole bunch of good-looking girls around her, so she can put this man on with her friends, some level of opportunities. Typically, men do not befriend women unless there's something that he believes benefits him to befriend her, whether that's sexual or something else. So I believe it is dangerous because uh, romance is right around the corner. It's right there. It's right around the corner. And when you spend time with people, somebody that you didn't look at a certain way, you start to look at that certain way, sometimes. So, I think I wouldn't suggest it. I wouldn't suggest it, generally speaking, just because, unless, and I think you all agree, you all say, hey, only if you're single, because why? Because the opportunity is there. So, with that being said, the opportunity being there, that's why I think it is very dangerous. I do believe there's a couple, some people who could do it successfully, but particularly with men, while men are concerned, most of us can't be trusted in that way. Men usually don't go out of their way to befriend women because we have nothing in common most of the time. We have nothing in common. So there's something that I can get from the, and I'm just speaking honestly here and candidly here as a brother, my brothers may be mad at me, not in this group chat, but the brothers watching this online, you know, I think it's very dangerous. So that's a great point. And before we go to our next video, because you all brought this point up, you said that, hey, if you're in a relationship, then this cannot happen. Okay, that leads us to our next question, brothers and sisters. Take a look at this.
Should married Christians be alone with members of the opposite sex? I have some friends who would say, absolutely not. That's just categorically inappropriate. The Billy Graham rule. Vice President Mike Pence. Billy Graham travels with a companion always so that he doesn't even give off the appearance of evil. He's never alone with a woman in a hotel or a taxi cab or an elevator. Why give your spouse reason to even question or be concerned? Then I have other friends who would say, that's just not realistic. In today's day and age, we work with people of the opposite sex. Of course, we're going to have to be alone on a plane, in a car. We're working together on things. And that if you have wise safeguards in place, you shouldn't feel guilty or concerned about that. You know your intentions. And if you have self-control, there's really not a problem. Should married Christians be alone with members of the opposite sex? What do you think?
What do you think, brothers and sisters? Okay, the question is, should believers in a committed relationship be alone with the opposite sex? Okay, should believers in a committed relationship be alone with the opposite sex? What do you think about this, brothers and sisters? No right or wrong answers. The people that watch our broadcast, it's really hearing everybody's perspective helps them formulate their own perspective or maybe change their perspective. So, we're not here to agree with each other. We're really here to just based on our experience and what we think, put that out there for the brothers and sisters who are watching. Should believers in a committed relationship be alone with the opposite sex? Y'all, you already said they shouldn't be friends, right?
I guess I'll go first. because maybe that helps. So I guess it depends because at the same time you're saying alone, the video is expressing different situations. So it's showing work situations, events, stuff like that. So I guess that's the gray area because just communicating with someone, like in a space, let's just say it's an event and you're standing over by a table and you're just talking to somebody and they're married and stuff like that could be a general conversation, nothing more, nothing less. Now, granted, in that situation, for me personally, I would still feel uncomfortable. How I deal with situations like that, if we in a congregation type situation, I gravitate towards the man's wife. And the reason I do that, and I do that in any situation, if I'm meeting people and they're married and everybody's married, I am more geared to getting to know the wife first because I need her to trust that she doesn't have to worry if I'm having a conversation with her husband. And I say that because I've been in several situations where I think I've been in every situation, but I've been in several situations where one in particular, I have these African friends. Yeah, I went to Africa for 30 days, but I've known them for like 8, 9 years, right? And her brother came around. She used to braid my hair before I had locks, and then we just stayed friends. You know, we became friends. And her brother started to come around some years after, and I started meeting different people in her family. And he had married someone and I didn't know her. So she had a birthday party and Mary was like, "Hey, come over, to the house. We having a party and stuff for, Chrissy." And okay. And I never met her. So I come over there talking to her. Then they wanted to go out after. So we ended up going to some Jamaican bar where they play Afro beats because they like listening to all that stuff. And so we go there, and the husband, even at the house, he kept on coming to say stuff to me, and talk to me. And again, they Muslim, so they believe in having more than one wife. She don't agree with it. He's just married to her, but even though she don't agree with it, and he's not doing it, don't mean he don't believe in it. So he flirts and he does things that's kind of out of character. And it's like he kept coming and having conversation with me, and I kept being like, "Yeah, this is weird." And when he started to do it in the club setting and he was drinking, I said something to her. I said, "Hey, your husband always like this?" I was like, "He a little bit out of out of control, He keep." She was like, "Yeah, I don't agree with it. He's like that, but you know, I just be like, she just kind of was like, eh. And I was like, yeah, that's not okay. And I just want you to know that it'll never get to that point with me and her. And me and her became friends. Like we traveled together. We went to Africa this recent time. She just came to the baby shower for my son, having my grandbaby. Yeah, she just came to the baby shower that we had, and we're really good friends. And he still has done it recently, and she knows. Like when we was in Africa, he got on the phone and he was talking to her, and he was like, "Sharice right here," and he was like, "Hey, look at you, all glowing and stuff. How you enjoying this stuff?" And I was like, you need to be saying all that to your wife, not me. I don't want." And so she immediately was like, she don't like stuff like that, and I don't know why you keep doing it. You need to stop. I put it out there several times because he messy, and that's not the only situation I have. But just to elaborate on that, it can get very uncomfortable. So because I've been in that situation more than once, I'm real hesitant to talk to another man that is married. And if I am, I'm like, "Hey, well, your wife here, is you doing? Like, let me meet her," stuff like that. And then I gravitate more towards her than
That's a
anything.
good point, sister. That's a great point. And let me rephrase it slightly for clarity purpose. Should believers in a committed relationship be in a private setting with the opposite sex? What do you
Yeah.
think?
No, no, I say no. And the reason I say no is because so many different things can happen, and it could be some he say, she say stuff. No, I'm gonna just say no. Just better be safe than sorry, right? So I don't want to deal with that, and I'd rather be safe. And especially if you marry, you are in a committed relationship. No, you do not need to be in the room with somebody of the opposite sex. I think the Bible tell you that you're not supposed to be alone. So we're just gonna say, I'm just gonna believe what God say. He be knowing what he be talking about, so I'm gonna go with him. That's my answer for 300, Alex.
Run.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Let's get one of our men in here. One of you brothers, Kevin or Karan. Jump in here, Karan.
Yeah. like she said, I think there's a lot of danger with that. And just from what I've seen myself, if a man and a woman, every time I've seen a man and a woman alone, especially like in a home, like they're most likely having sex with each other. Like that's just what I've seen. I mean, most of the time, like at least 90% of the time, that's what I've seen, you know. And it's deep, it's definitely personal. Because if you're alone with somebody in a private setting, it's personal. You'll have feelings for each other that are to a certain extent. I think just like intrinsically, like men and women coming together, it's gonna lead to something else. I don't know. I just think there should be somebody else in the setting. You know, I don't think they should just be alone together.
Okay, that's a great point, Brother Quran. That's a great point. Let's get Sister Angelique in here. Sister Angelique, what do you think about this? Should believers in a committed relationship be in a private setting with the opposite sex?
I do think it depends on the setting. I'm going to say generally no, because optics are everything, and the way things look matter more than what's people believe the way things look before they believe what actually happened. Um, I think if you're at work and you have a coworker and maybe you have a meeting, I think there's safety things you put in place. So like, I mean, a lot of us have met with someone of the opposite sex at work, and when we're aware, if we have to go in an office, we leave the door open. We put the blinds up on the window, you know, because we got to have a private conversation. So I think that there are private settings in which it is appropriate to be alone with someone of the opposite sex. You just need to be aware of what is going on and what precautions you might need to take. And then also what energy you're giving off. Like one you know people at work, like have you ever known someone at work that all they talk about is their spouse? And then you have coworkers who you would never even know are married. You ain't never seen a wedding ring, but the whole time they wife pop up at the Christmas party or something, and you're like, oh, the way he be flirting around the office with Janice, I never knew he was married. So just there are exceptions to that rule, and I think people, whether you're a believer or not, it's just a good habit. It is good boundary hygiene to just be in the habit of being aware of how things look, how you're coming off, what you may need to be doing, because at the end of the day you wouldn't want somebody alone with your husband or wife. You'd probably flash if it was your husband or wife alone with somebody. So just treat people how you want to be treated, whether you're married or not.
That's a great point, sister. That's a very great point. That was multifaceted. You gave us another perspective on that. Let's get Sister Danielle in here. Sister Danielle, what do you think about this? Should believers in a committed relationship be alone or in a private setting with the opposite sex? And we mean something that's not forced or mandatory, like at a job. It could be potentially mandatory, but this is something that is not mandatory.
Oh, well, then you took that out. Then no. No, because I was gonna say anything work related, um, I would say okay, but anything outside of work, then I would, if you can avoid it, just I would definitely do so.
Why is that?
It's messy. And like I think it was Sister, is it Angelique? Did I say that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, she was just saying the appearance of, and even the Bible, I think it's in Thessalonians, abstain from the appearance of all forms of evil or
Yeah.
evil. And so, somebody maybe not a believer or who's a believer walking up on something that they don't really have all of the all of the idea of what's going on, they may think something. So I would just say it gets messy. And again, if you can abstain, then definitely, if you can avoid all of that, just go ahead and do that.
It's a great point, sister. You actually pulled out the scripture And the Bible does say, avoid all appearance of evil. Absolutely. Thessalonians. Let's get Brother Kevin in here. Brother Kevin, what are you thinking about this? Should believers in a committed relationship be in a private setting with the opposite sex? What are you thinking on this, brother?
I'm thinking absolutely not, brother. Absolutely not.
Okay.
However, however, if you're serving an elderly sister or helping out, then there are occasions, obviously, say she needs help putting up a picture or whatever it might be. There are circumstances. If your wife believes that you can't handle being along with an 80, 90-year-old lady, then obviously then you have to respect that. But if you're just genuinely going with the intentions of helping this sister, and she calls you, I need help, with something, and you go over there and you help her out, and that's perfectly, in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. But uh, absolutely not though if you're in a committed relationship.
So you say there, of course, I agree. There are certain exceptions to the rule. I totally agree with that. Of course, that's typically, but you're saying as a rule of thumb, there's more cons than there are pros to that
That's true.
situation.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Let's get Sister Franzi in here. Sister Franzi, what are you thinking on this topic? Right? Being in a private setting with the opposite sex, right? If it was your son or your daughter, or you were giving advice to somebody, what type of advice would you be giving them? Hey, if it's your son, are you telling your son, hey, your wife shouldn't be in a private setting with men? Or vice versa? What type of advice would you be giving young people?
My thing is, and I'm listening to everyone saying what they're saying, but I don't know, I'm just thinking a different way. Um, why are we saying this? Is it because of sex? Because if that's the case nowadays, men and women, you could be married and you're having a sexual relationship with a woman. So w- I I'm like, okay, what are we saying here? I can't be alone with a man because I'm married, or but I could be alone with a woman and there could still be sex going on being alone with a woman and I'm married. So it's like I feel like when you're married and you're a believer and you're following the word of God, um, then you can be alone with someone and nothing's going to happen. I just, you know, look at the times that we're living with now. How many I've seen a lot of marriages that to heterosexual marriage and then a divorce happen and they go the opposite direction. They go to same sex. So what are we talking about here? I mean, I understand perspective and I understand what people perceive and I understand what the Bible is saying, but I've seen things that um they're best friends and they're having a girls' night, but no, they're not. They're having a romantic night. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm
But I
thinking.
guess he was talking about Christians, so the video is just talking about believers. So it's not talking about worldly people. So I'm automatically eliminating binary confused people.
But the thing is, believers, I mean, Christians also get tempted by because of the world that we're living in. I've seen
Yeah.
Christians still get tempted and they go the opposite direction.
Hmm.
I agree.
Good
So
point.
so what
That's a good point.
I've seen it. You thinking that, and they're two girls together. They're having a girls' night out, or they're having a romantic relationship,
That's true. That's a good
and
point,
then they go to
sister.
church. They go to church on Saturdays, or they go to church on Sunday, and then they're in
No,
Bible
don't do
study.
that.
I mean, they go to
I
Bible
mean,
study together.
honestly, that's why I don't have no respect for Christians. I just believe in the truth. I'm not religious. So when it comes to religious people, I'm on a whole different that's a whole different playing field for me. And I don't want to sit up here and try to I don't want to down anybody's belief, of what space they're in. But for me, because I'm just a follower of Christ and I do not follow any religion, those people per se do a lot of things. I mean, the fact that they still follow pagan holidays and say that they're followers of Christ is crazy in itself. So my respect level is at zero when it comes to anybody that say, "Oh, I'm a Christian." You
You're
just a
saying,
regular person.
so you mean as far as them having like knowledge of what is right and what's wrong in the eyes of God?
Right, because they're
Yeah.
going with everything now. They're using the fact that you can just come as you are. Yeah, come as you
Mhm.
are with what you got on. Not your mind. Your mindset initially is going to go in there a certain way, but as you coming and going, you should be transforming,
Right.
not just keep coming as you are. Meaning, anyway, it's sinful, habitually sinning, and
Sure.
this man or lady sitting up here
Okay.
preaching and telling you the
Sure.
right thing, and then you're just doing
All right.
crazy stuff. So
I
yeah,
agree with you,
I
sister.
don't. When
Appreciate
you
that.
said believers, I immediately went to people who are living righteously, know the right thing, and
So would you
they are
say,
doing the
what's
right
your
thing.
answer on that, sister? Let's just say, believers, whatever you, however you see that. What do you think the answer should be? Just from your perspective here, sister. Do you believe it's something that should not transpire, or what do you believe, sister? I don't want to put words in
What
your
you
mouth.
mean that something shouldn't transpire as far as being
As far
around
as being,
same
yeah,
sex?
in a private setting, yeah, and then we'll get one of the brothers in here. I'll get you,
So
brother Kevin.
the based off of what she said, she's right. And it makes it a gray area because, again, when it comes to male and female, yes, you could be in a private setting with them and something happening, and you could be in a private setting with a female on female and something happening. You never
Mhm.
really know. I guess it's really up to the person to that has boundaries and the police themselves up. Because
Okay.
ultimately, if we're saying male on female, no, you should understand that I'm not about to base who said based off of what things look like, right? So if we're
Yeah.
going off of perception, we're not perceiving anything when it comes to female on female, but we immediately perceiving something when it comes to male with female. And this man married, why they over there conversing, what they talking about that long? But
Sure.
now, when it comes to female, that's not the case. So
Hmm.
again, it's a gray area. No, you
Hmm.
shouldn't be with another man having no long conversation, and he's married.
Okay. That's a good
And if
point,
you are
sister.
a female, then I mean, I guess that's between you and Yahweh. Because at this point, I don't know what to say.
Well, I want to say I appreciate all of you brothers and sisters' perspective because it's really for the audience, right? We have thousands of people from many countries that follow us, and this is what they want to hear, right? They want to hear the difference in opinion, and not only just the difference in opinion, but some of the small details, the small details, and the difference. So let's get Brother Kevin in here, brother. What are you thinking about this conversation?
Excuse me. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the fact of loving your sister or brother like you love yourself. And we know Satan has a easily, uh, he's able to easily manipulate situations. Um, yeah, the appearance is one thing, but just also loving your sister. So not wanting your sister to develop any feelings of jealousy or assume that something's going on because you're in the confines of a private situation with her husband or vice versa. So I wouldn't do that to my brother, have his wife with me in a situation, because I don't want my brother then to develop situations of he's feeling a certain way because now he's like, why was you in there with my wife? And people can say, well, if you're following God, you wouldn't think this. And that's not true. You know what I mean? That's not true at all. So
Mhm.
I think it's very important to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, our
That's a great
brothers.
point.
So
That's a great point, brother. Let's get Isaiah in here. Isaiah, what are you thinking on this topic? Should believers in a committed relationship be in a private setting or allowed to be in a private setting with the opposite sex? What are you thinking on this, Isaiah? Give us your point of view as a younger man.
No, because there's no point if you're in a committed relationship to be in a room with another woman, um, unless it's like for edification purposes, like how Kevin said, like helping an elderly woman, you know, or like you'd have to be like a very strong, like Christ believer, and like you know, not dealing with any type of lust or temptation. You'd have to be a man of such. But for like overall people of the world, nah, it just people always deal with lust, and for a man and a woman to be in the same room, it could open those type of opportunities. It could, those type of thoughts transpire in young men and women. So I think no. I think no. You know.
That's a great point. Does anybody, before I say what I believe, who else wants to join in on this conversation? It's a great conversation. There's nuance. That's what I appreciate about sisters. Sisters are very nuanced, the detail. Um, does anyone else want to jump in on this before we land this plane? Okay, yeah. So for me, I believe you should not be alone with the opposite gender or sex, especially, even if you aren't in a committed relationship. I think it's very dangerous, but in particularly when you have a relationship, because the devil always will speak to your woman, right? Your wife, and put thoughts in her head. Sisters know this. Sisters will run with something in their head and just run all the way down the road, and none of it's true, because it's just something that, sisters fight against. So I believe for the sake of your partner, quote unquote partner, I would not do it. Just to be considerate, because I don't want, if I'm in a relationship and I'm married, I don't want my wife to ever even I don't even want that to be a thought in her head. And it could not be you. It could actually be the other person. Maybe this brother likes you and he's interested in you, and now he gets the opportunity, put his hand on your leg, whatever the case is, have a sip of his wine. So I believe, we typically think about it. Well, no, I can be trusted, and since I can be trusted, it's something that should be done. And I think to be considerate, if you're in a relationship, your man would not want that. And I'm sure your wife, and I've spoken to brothers before who had a plethora of, females around them. And I would say to him, even though your wife may not be saying it's a problem, I'm telling you it is. I'm letting you know it is, because she feels like she's in competition. Sisters already kind of have that thing about them. And the serpent loves to talk to women. He loves to come hiss in the sister's ear and tell her she's not good enough, she's not tall enough, she's not thin enough, she's not light enough, so forth and so on. So I suggest to brothers and sisters, always be cognizant that there isn't just you and the other person. The devil actually exists. And he will also try to come in and misrepresent certain things. So because of that reason in particular, I would say no, just because of the damage that it could be done. So, if we're in a public setting, that's one thing. If we're in a public setting, but certainly not a private setting, just because it's all good until it's not. And even in Israelite culture, you would never see a woman and man alone. You would never see it. It was not allowed. And that's why when Christ met that sister at the well, the disciples were flabbergasted. They're like, "Whoa, what is what is he doing? Was we come back and he's with this sister who's a Gentile?" So just our culture, generally speaking, it just was not allowed. If you were not married to the person, you were not allowed to be alone with them, just because it's like making provisions for the flesh. We all have flesh, and all of us can fall to our flesh. So why put yourself or another brother or another sister, if you're a sister and you don't want to put a brother in that predicament, and vice versa, if you're a brother, maybe this sister likes you, right? And if she gets the opportunity, she would say, right? Because that happens. That does happen sometimes. So because of that, I would suggest not to. If you want to have a healthy relationship with whoever your spouse, or you're courting a sister or brother, or whatever the case is, I would suggest not to do it because it's too much trouble can come from it, and the devil will certainly try to repurpose what's going on. So I would certainly not. And of course, that scripture for you brothers and sisters, one thing as I've gotten closer to the Most High, it is that scripture that says, um, abstain from the appearance of evil. So it doesn't even have to be evil, but if it will cause somebody else to stumble, like I'm not going to go to the bar to evangelize, because if another brother who's learning with us sees me coming out of that bar, that could really stumble that brother. So with that being said, you brothers and sisters, as you're getting closer to the Most High, it's what the appearance is. Even if you're not doing it, it's what the appearance is, and that will keep you out of a ton of trouble. Okay. Okay. So let's put that to bed, brothers and sisters. Let's put that to bed. Listen to this video, or take a look at this video and tell me your thoughts, brothers and sisters.
What's up, guys? Aldo here, back again with another Man on the Street video. A new poll came out, showed that 60% of Gen Z men were single. So I came out to Santa Monica Pier to find out what the heck was going on. Do women need men?
Sometimes.
No. Yes or no? Do women need men?
Answer that. I don't even know. I can't answer that one. Like, I don't know.
I mean, do they need them? Occasionally, but do they want them? Yes.
Do women need men?
No.
What? Why?
I don't think either one needs the other in order for like their own personal development, but I think to definitely have a good life, they do. But in the sense of do they need them? No.
Well, didn't you just tell me that the gender equality was hurting us and that we actually do need each other?
We do need each other, but I'm saying like...
Do women need men?
No. We don't.
Why not?
We are capable of being happy without a man.
Wow, how does that make you feel?
She's got me, so.
He still makes me happy, but...
Do men need women?
No. I don't think so. Why? I don't know.
Do women need men?
No. No. No.
So why did you say that men need women, but women don't need men?
Because usually men are useless. Sorry.
So, brothers and sisters, I want to be clear. This question is not about just romance. Okay, do women need men more than men need women, right? And this isn't just do I need to be in a romantic relationship to be happy? That's not what this question is about. Okay, so listen to it. It's do women need men more than men need women? Right? What are your thoughts on this? Clearly, the sisters they believe they don't need men at all. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Hey. No. That is not true.
So would you say, do women need men more than men need women? Would you say men need women more, or would you say sisters need men more? Just generally speaking, not just in a romantic type of situation.
Women need men equally. Women need men, men need women. Because we bring a set of values that levels a man out. They may be designed to lead, and so they have this way about them when they're like, okay, I got it. But we all know that on the road, they can't follow a GPS.
Good point.
I'm just messing around. But
point,
yeah,
sister.
So, we come in with that special kind of wisdom that we was given to help the man navigate the GPS. So it's
get to
like
where he needs to go.
Right. So it's like it's a give and take. Now, granted, yes, can a woman survive without a man? She absolutely can in the world we live in today. In the world we live in today, on all kind of levels, to include sexually, we good. Do we want to? And I can't speak for every woman, but I'm speaking for every woman. No, we don't want to. No woman wants to be alone, but we will choose it to protect our peace. And
Wow.
that's really all I gotta say.
That's a great point, sister. That's a great point. And what we saw was, you know, in 2025, most sisters say, "Hey, we don't need men at all. Men don't really have any value." I think that's really a consensus. I would think 90% of women think that, just because of the time that we're in. But the question is, do women need men more than men need women? What are your thoughts on this, brothers and sisters?
I think I wouldn't say more than whatever, but I would say the same. I think we need each other equally for different reasons. That's why God created us. So I think, together we are better and we create what God intended for mankind to be. So I can't say that women need men more or vice versa. So I think we need each other equally. And we're not complete. We're not a complete package without each other. So, and that can be in any setting. It doesn't, like you said, doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic setting. But for sure, in a marriage, right? You definitely need a man and a woman. That's why you can't have a man and a man and a woman and a woman, because a man needs a woman and a woman needs a man. And then, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Yes, we need
Okay.
each other.
So you said equality. There's equity here or equality here.
I like
Where
equity better than equality. That's a better word. I don't
okay.
like that equality word.
Okay.
Is it?
Excellent. Excellent. Great point. Great point there. And the question was, do women need men more than men need women? Jump in here, brothers and sisters. Franzi, what do you think, sister? Do women need men more than men need women? What's your opinion on this, sister? No right or wrong answer.
From my experience, now, I have to say, um, I think we need each other equally. However, I feel like it's easier for a woman to be without a man because of the way that God built us. We multitask. Um, we can do many things. So, and the thing is, the things that we may need a man for, I'm not saying romantically, but I'm talking about in a home, we can hire somebody. so, so
It's
we
true.
can we can hire somebody. So,
It's
now,
true.
do we want to? No, because it's exhausting. Okay, it's exhausting, and then they go. We don't have a chance to really be a woman. Do we want to do it? No, but can we? Yes. Um, and that's the reason why we need each other.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, sister. Brother Kevin, jump in here on this. What do you think? Do women need men more than men need women?
Interesting question. I would say that I'll propose it like this first. It was God who said that Adam needed help in the garden, um, and brought to him a helpmate. Um, and then it also says in Proverbs that a man who findeth the woman findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord. Um, in the modern times that we live in today, um, even though women have all this access, um, I don't think any woman would rather go to war and fight on a battlefield. She'd much prefer a man to do that. Um, and then a lot of things that they have to call, as the sister was just saying, to hire work. Like majority of it's usually manual labor. It's usually men who are doing these things. Um, so if we say that one needs the other more than the other, excuse me, in some instances, yeah, one, it levels out. But I believe ultimately, um, sometimes men left to their own devices can um, malfunction, and a woman can have a calming spirit there. And but I think a lot of things, men are necessary, and we do live in a nation and time where um, men are being overly feminized, emasculated, um, and the component of what man is. We hear it all the time, toxic masculinity. I've never or don't often hear toxic femininity, but yeah, men are being made to, become like a ancient thing, and I think it's important to remember that that's was who was made first, and obviously with being made first, we have a big responsibility. So I think we need each other ultimately.
That's a great point, brother. That is a great point. So you think equity there. Okay, that's a great point. Let's get Sister Angelique in here. What are you thinking on this, sister? Do women need men more than men need women? And we're not just speaking on a romantic level. That could be included, but we're just speaking generally here.
It's not a versus thing. When you ask the question, I just hear balance. Women need men to balance them, and vice versa. And one of the sisters said it earlier that there are a set of values that women bring, and there's also a set of values that men bring. We have to get out of this versus mindset of who needs who more, who doesn't need who. And I'm quick to tell you, just me personally, I don't care how independent I get, I'm always need a man. Yes, open my door for me. Thank you. Pull out my chair, all the things. I'm never going to be mad that a man opens the door for me. I love that. I'll open it for you too. So, um, to me, it's just all about balance. And are there roles that one can take on that are traditionally assigned to the other? Sure. But like Kevin was saying, I don't want to be up in nobody's front war line. That ain't where I want to be. I want to be at home sending off the care packages. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to be in the war. Like definitely don't want to be changing my own oil and tires and all the things I know how to do. I would love for a man to do that for me. So, yes, there just has to be a balance. And I think that even within all of us, I know maybe it's a little bit controversial to say, um, but for me, I also happen to believe that we all carry balanced energy. Because there are traits that everybody has that are, humans assign as feminine or masculine traits. And so we all embody all of those things. And there are seasons in our life where we have to show up in more of one energy than another. But as far as roles and who needs who more, I mean, I think of two things. Kevin said, God created a helpmate for Adam, and he created Adam in the first place. And then the other thing I think of is the Bible says that everyone has a job in the kingdom. Everyone has a job in the kingdom. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that role is based on gender. So that's what I think of when I think of um, if one is needed more than the other. So we really have to get out of these mindsets where we get pitted against each other, especially when we're talking about communities of color, because that's how we get hyper masculine women and emasculated men. It's because we keep being pitted against each other and lied to. Like you were saying, the serpent comes in your ear and lies and says, well, you don't need a man. Well, you don't need a woman. You can do this. You can do that. You can go get another man. You can go get another woman. No, you really can't. So, it took a man and a woman to eat that stupid fruit. It wasn't two men that ate that damn fruit. It was it was a man and a woman. So the the power and the balance and the blame is all equal. The end.
Great point, sister. Great point. So you're saying you disagree with what those sisters were saying in that video?
Yes, I think that a lot of the younger women and I don't even want to put it on younger women because there are a lot of women, a lot of feminists in general who feminism went from, being about equality and women just wanting to be seen as more than cooks and cleans in the home to modern, most from what I see, most modern femininity is centered in women uniting to male bash. And I don't agree with that either. So I do disagree with the women in those videos because that's usually something you hear from a feminist,
That's
from
a
a
great
modern day
point.
feminist.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Thank you, sister. Let's get Sister Danielle in here.
Brother
What do
said
you? Oh yeah, jump in here, Sister Sharice.
before that, I wanted to touch on something she said about
Okay.
the younger generation. So I know I'm not the only one aware that a lot of those females were very young, right? And so we live in a generation where a lot of these opinions is coming from younger people. So if we're talking to people all over the world, right, we got to tap into their mindset. Right now, they hook up culture. They're not trying to be with nobody anyway. So what we talking about, they're like, yeah, whatever, right? Because we just meeting and greeting and sleeping. That's what they doing right now. So don't we have a young guy here?
Yeah, we do have a few.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear what he has to say based off
Okay.
of his experience as a young person and dealing with these women who believe that and yes, there are feminists, old, young, and in between. But what they're putting out right now in the media, and just like these little videos, and this is one of many videos that they do randomly stop people on the street and ask them these questions. It does not only formulate opinions, it programs young people to believe that, oh, I don't need a man. Oh, this is that's what it's doing ultimately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to from
Good point.
his perspective, his life, growing up right now in this at his age, how often is he getting these responses and that experience?
That's a great point, sister. So let's get Isaiah in here, and then let's get Sister Danielle in here to round it off. Isaiah, what are you thinking about this? Do women need? You saw the video. Do women need men more than men need women?
I believe that women do need men more than men need women. I say this because throughout the entire Bible, I see woman always married to a man, and when the woman is married to a man or with the man, they are more successful and they carry out the duty that they need to fulfill to carry out their purpose more efficiently. When I see men in the Bible, like Christ himself, Christ did not have a wife. John the Baptist did not have a wife. There's many men in the Bible that fulfilled their purpose and did what they needed to do without a woman. And and Adam and Eve, Adam was created. Adam, he named everything. You know, and the Lord brought Eve unto Adam to essentially increase his vision and help him not be lonely because the Lord seen he was lonely. But that should tell you, the Lord said that the woman was created for the man, not the man for the woman. Woman means came from man. Like I believe that's why I believe the woman needs men more than the man needs a woman. And
Great point.
you can just see it from Christ for real himself. He lived his whole life without a woman.
Great points. Great points. Let's get Sister Danielle in here, and let's pass it over to Quran. What are you thinking about what we saw in that video, sister? And just generally speaking, do women need men more than men need women, right? And that could either be there's three answers there. So I'll just I'll bow out there.
Um, I think we both need each other. I think there are attributes from women that men need. I think there are attributes from women, I mean, from men that women need to see. And I think we can all learn something from, you know, the counterpart. But it's funny because the two scriptures I thought about, Brother Kevin said one that, Eve basically was created to help Adam. And then Brother Isaiah said it that the man, well, woman was created for the man, not the other way around. So um, for me, reading those scriptures, it does seem like maybe the man needed more help in a sense, because maybe for Adam, the work was just a bit too great and he needed that support. But I think we can both benefit from each other. I don't think women, I think, would be miserable without men, and I think men would be miserable without women. It's kind of like you can't live with them, you can't live without them. So and I think that's true. I think that's true in a sense. We need each other, and I think God made it perfectly that way.
Yes, absolutely, sister. Great, well-rounded, balanced answer there. Karan, jump in here, young brother. Come on in here. What are you thinking about this topic? You saw the video, right? And the question is, do women need men more than men need women? And you have three options there. Only thing you have to do is choose one and explain your position.
Let's say men need women and women need men. But if I had to say who would need more and I knew to be decisive, I would say I suspect women need men more, specifically because women was made for the man. And when I see that in the Bible, it lets me know that the woman was made specifically to help the man. You know, if Adam if Adam didn't need help, well, it didn't happen, but there was just Adam. And because Adam needed help, the woman was made for the man. And the function of the woman is to be a helpmeet for the man. So I would say a woman needs a man more because they were made to help a man, you know. And if they're not helping a man, essentially, they're not fulfilling their purpose. But and then I would say to answer Sister Sharice's question, because I think she was talking about me. When it comes to younger women dating, I think it's a pride thing. I think it's really prideful when women say they don't need a man. But from what I've seen, women will say they don't need a man, but internally, they really want a man. I just see that from personal experience. Uh, they'll say they don't need a man or they don't want a man, but they're over here on dating apps desperate for a man, and they're really getting beat up internally because they know they want a man, but because of the woman around them and the things being promoted in society, they don't want to admit that they want a man in their life. And I'd say that's personally what I've seen.
Okay.
But I think a man really needs women too, like to balance him out, because all the testosterone and the aggression, like a woman brings calmness and a softness that a man needs. And sometimes a man just needs to, chill out and relax and be with his woman, you know. But
Absolutely. That's a great point. That's a really good point. And I'll say before we get to the second part of this question, I believe that just on a general level, I think man needs woman and woman needs man. But generally, if he's single, I believe if we're just dealing single, I think the woman needs the man because the man is industrial. He created the cell phone, he created the computer, he created the car, everything that sisters use to have a comfortable life. Men are risk takers. Sisters are not going to build skyscrapers and all that. That's just not in their nature to do that. So I believe, generally speaking, it would be if there were no men, as those sisters were suggesting they don't need men, I think that would just be a terrible life for women because women have comfortable lives. I mean, even you said, hey, we could hire a man to do what we want because there's a man, usually he comes. But when it comes to relationships, I believe the man needs the woman more. I think the woman was created to upgrade the man. And it doesn't just mean when God says she's to help the man, that doesn't just mean in a romantic relationship. That means the women are supposed to help the men in their life. to upgrade us because we can't see clearly without them. A sister has, she has great vision. She has great vision and she has foresight. And men, we have like a primary goal, but the primary goal could be better. And as Sister Sharice was saying, sisters can do a plethora of things at one time. Men get very frustrated trying to do two things at once, right? If somebody's trying to talk to us and we're doing something, we can't even talk, or we have to stop doing what we're doing to talk. So I believe when it comes to for a relationship, I believe the man benefits greatly because he can't be his best version of himself without the woman. And before we go to the second part of the question, let me get Isaiah in here on this, and then we'll go to the second question, which I think you all will find fascinating.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, the Most High is so beautiful, the way how He adds balance in all areas of life. Because even though the woman needs the man, the Bible says that the woman is the most powerful force for real. Like the woman has this great vision, it gives birth to men and women. Like, I think it's just a very equally balanced thing overall. The man, he's powerful in this area, but the woman is also the most powerful force, as the Bible says.
Absolutely. That's a great point. I do believe women, their purpose was to upgrade the men in their lives, whether that's their sons, their uncles, their cousins, their fathers, because he already has a vision. And you'll notice a lot of assistants, right, are women, right? Men look for women to be the assistants because they can multitask. They could do a myriad of things at a time. And he trusts her that, hey, her vision, right? And men, we listen to women, quite frankly. If a woman gives us advice, particularly, we listen to it because we want to know what women think. I don't know if it's the other way around. I don't know. But typically, men will listen to women, right? If you say, well, hold on here, brother. If you do this, women will see this as that way, right? Or if you want to, sisters are consumers, right? So if you want to have a business, you want to actually get the perspective of a woman because they're the consumers. So I totally, totally believe if it's just a general thing, the sisters need men more for the comfort of life. And when it comes into a relationship, a woman was created to upgrade the man, period. That's what she comes from. Sisters get into relationships and upgrade the men they're with. I mean, that's just everybody knows that. We all know that. Okay. The men, even if afterwards he is on another level, even if he's not with that sister. So I just want to put that out there. Now, the second part of this question is which sex copes best when living without the other? Which sex copes best which sex copes best when living without the other sex? Is the woman better alone than the man is better alone, or is the man better alone, or happier alone, or happiest?
Can
What
I
do you
answer
think?
that one?
Please jump in here, sister.
Um, I think just kind of off the top of my head, I'm thinking women because typically we're the emotional ones in the relationship, and so we've dealt with all the emotions, and so when we check out, we've kind of come to the acceptance. We've learned to accept it, whereas men now having to deal with the realization of, and all of these emotions are hitting them at once. So I think
Mhm,
maybe in a sense, probably women cope best
mhm.
versus men. Just my
That's a great
opinion.
point. That's a great point, sister. So, Sister Danielle says, and from her perspective, she believes women are more okay with being alone than men are. What do you think on this, brothers and sisters? What's your opinion
Um,
on this?
my
Quran, jump in there.
perspective, I would say every time I got out of a relationship, it made me reflect and I became a better person from it. I would say men, at least from what I've seen, men are like reflectors. They always think on what happened in the past, what can I do to be better? How can I become a better man from this? Like what went wrong? And from there, we really upgrade ourselves, I would say. Like a lot of men, they either destroy themselves or they instantly upgrade themselves, either or. At least from what I've seen. I can't say for women. I mean, actually, from my perspective, from what I've seen, the single women in my life, um, they really don't do that as much. Like every really older men I see, like I think this is literally something like people post on social media, like what girl broke your heart to where you did this? Because a lot of men after heartbreak, they really like they build on themselves and they upgrade to become better men, better versions of themselves. And at least from the women I've seen in my life, when they've gotten heartbroken, I mean they're still on business, they're still doing their things, but they're really emotional, they're really dealing with this, and I would say they don't grow as much from it.
That's a great point, brother. That's a great point. And and the question was, which sex copes best when living without the other? So we've heard from a few people. Jump in here, brothers and sisters. Do sisters cope best with being alone, or do men cope best when it comes to being alone?
Okay, so my crown is tip to you for being a better person and learning from past relationships and being a better person. From experience and listening to other men, they take longer to get over a relationship. And most do not get over that relationship and they internalize that in every relationship they go in after and they become really horrible men. And that's unfortunate. For a woman, on the other hand, we can shut off our emotions like a light switch. And it's not that we don't care, still care about the man. We are good at putting things in perspective where we prioritize what's important. So for us, because we're emotionally inclined to everything, we we are thinkers. So for me, let me say, for me, I'm like this. So I'm in a relationship. It's not really going the way that it need to be going. And I know what I need to do. I'm more inclined to do what I need to do versus continue to keep trying to make something work that I know is only going to get worse because I'm assessing and discerning the entire situation. And so now I'm shutting off my heart and I am operating in my spirit versus so yeah, that. And so I believe that yes. Sorry, man.
Okay, I appreciate that perspective, sister. Because why? Our experience is our expertise. That's where we get our expertise from. So that's a great point. Great points, sister. Let's get Sister Franzi in here. What do you think about this, sister? Which sex copes best with living without the other?
Well, I'm not being biased. I feel like it's the woman copes best. My father, and I'm going to quote my father. My father used to tell me when a woman breaks up with you, they broke up with you a long time ago. When a woman leaves a relationship, they left a long time ago. Because emotionally, if you don't have that woman, even though physically she's there, she's already checked out. So I feel like we women copes best because of we're in tune with our emotions, and like the sister said, we shut it off like a light switch and we move on. That's why we multitask. We see what's more important, and sometimes that is abandoning our feelings and ourselves, especially if we have a family to take care of. So I feel like we cope best. We know how to do that. That is part of nurture. That's innate in us. And I think that's a blessing that God gave women. We're able to do that. So when men go to war, we're able to take care of everything. So I just feel like We're there. God gave us that gift.
Praises to the Most High, sister. Thank you for that perspective. Let's get brother Kevin in here. Jump in here, brother Kevin. The question is, what sex copes best when living without the other? What do you think on this, brother?
I say the woman copes best, and the reason I say that is because um, we're going to uh, the second chapter of Genesis, verse 18, when I was talking before about how God brought a helpmate for Adam. It also said, and it's not good that man should be alone. Um, was what the first part of that scripture was. And then also when a man loses a woman, as the sister was talking about, men, I believe, do essentially have a long or a tougher time dealing with that afterwards. So, and that also is in scripture. If a man loses a woman, he'll be mourning that essentially. So I believe that men can cope on their own if they're not in a relationship or haven't been with one, or just doing their thing on their purpose and living that out. But once he's experienced that, and then that's no longer there, I think a lot of times the sister actually has the winning end or the better hand.
Oh, that's a great point, brother. That is a great point. Let's get Sister Angelique in here. Sister, which sex copes best when living without the other? What's your thoughts on this, sis?
Ooh, let me think about it. I would say women, and that is because from 46 years of life and observing everybody and everything, um, a lot of the time women do go into this mode of self-preservation, and I gotta work, I gotta take care of my kids. And we don't really so even when we do allow ourselves to sit in our feelings, I mean, we'll go to work and cry. So we will prioritize and multitask and still get on with the things of the day. um and we self we do and we tend to self reflect like right away, compared to men. For a lot of men tend to, again, these are not blanket statements. It's not true for every man or every woman, but a majority of men, in comparison to women, they don't self-reflect right away, and they tend to immediately jump into another relationship, or immediately jump into partying or working out or going to the gym, which, yes, on the surface could look like they're taking better care of themselves. And for some, they are, but a lot of them are doing the external work because they're not ready to deal with the internal work. So, and I feel like emotionally, as far as breakups are concerned, women are stronger than men. We do leave first, and we leave for ourselves. We don't. And it's so funny to me that sometimes men think that we leave them for other men. No, we do leave you for another man. It's Jesus, but that ain't what we're talking about. We leave you for us. Men leave women for some men leave women for themselves, but majority of men leave women for other women, or because he told her he was ready, and then he got in that relationship and it got too real and he wasn't ready. And so um I don't think either sex has a greater ability to deal with emotions. For me, I really feel like that's dependent on the person, because I've met women who do bad in a breakup, and I've met both genders who are who this can apply to either one. But somebody was talking about toxic masculinity earlier, and this probably doesn't have anything to do with this conversation, but I'm thinking about it. Personally, I don't believe in that title. I think any gender can be toxic. If you're a toxic person, you're just toxic. There's no toxic masculinity to it. It's just what it is a bunch of trauma responses, and we are villainizing men for having trauma responses that they don't understand. That's a whole other conversation. But back to what we're talking about, I do think that I do be, I do believe, and I have seen women cope better with a breakup than men. And also, even if men aren't running to another women, they tend to run to weed, they tend to run to alcohol, they tend to run to partying or whatever it looks like, whatever lifestyle they were living before they got in that relationship. Women don't women don't tend to do that um as much as men do. So yeah, I definitely would say that women are better at breakups, but we're allowed to process, and that's why it takes men longer, because they're not allowed to process. So that's what I have to say about that.
Wow, great. Those are excellent points, sister. Very detailed. There was some details in there. Let's get Sister Danielle in here. What are you thinking about this, sister? Which sex copes best when living without the other?
Um, just the woman itself, just as far as like I said, being able to again, as they've mentioned, deal with her feelings within the relationship. And again, once she checks out, she's just mentally gone. Whereas I said the man, he kind of, he's not allowed to show maybe his feelings or put them on Front Street or display those types of feelings. But once he's out of the relationship, it seems to me from experience, that now he's kind of dealing with the realization. Me having male cousins and even friends and things like that, and just kind of hearing them, even the conversations that I've, heard with my male cousins and just things like that, and just like, I should have treated her right or better.
Hmm.
Uh, cheating on her, et cetera, et cetera. But it's kind of like now after, once she's gone and she's checked out, then it's kind of like they realize now.
Yeah, that's a great point, sister.
Tough pill to
Wow.
swallow.
I would say so. Seems like we're at a consensus here. Janae, jump in here. What are you thinking about this? Which sex copes best when living without the other?
I don't think either one does very well, to be honest with you. I think each of them are different in their own ways, and I think women are better survivors. I will say that. We survive better, we will figure it out, but I think we end up hurting ourselves in the long run, and we lie to ourselves to say, oh, this is what much better. And then that's where you get, I'm independent. And that's where you get, I don't need a man. That's where that comes in at, because we're survivors. So in order to survive, you have to be mentally prepared. So I definitely think we survive way better than men. Men will destroy their entire lives over a woman. Like, this woman ruined my life. They will go and become something they totally disagree with. They will turn away from God. They will turn away from everything. But women will survive and eventually get back on track. But I just don't think either one of us cope well with that at all. That's why it ties into the original point. We need each other, because when we don't have each other, we malfunction. And when we malfunction, then society is trash. And that's why we are where we're at now, because our families aren't held together. There is not, the nuclear family no longer really exists. They call it traditional. And then they look at you kind of crazy when you're traditional and conservative. But because I want to live by what God says, which is what will help society function in the way that it should be functioning, and not what's going on today. So neither one of us cope well at all.
That's a good perspective. Let's get Brother Kevin in here. Jump in here, brother. What are you thinking about this?
I like what the sister said, but I do have to contest the survival thing. In different aspects, I believe that there's a survival aspect in different ways. But I will say this, I think, going back with what I said in regards to men not being able to handle it, if you look at our prison population, whether start with the women, the mass majority of women are not there based off of men. Um, That's just a statistical fact. But I believe that a lot of men, a large percentage of men, are in prisons based off of women. Um, Things that whether they were pimping, pandering, physically abusing, sexually assaulting. There's a lot of men who are in prison based off that. So, and then also just the fact of breakup, like Janae was saying, some men, they just completely go DEF CON, whatever, on their lives and just, uproot themselves because of a situation. And I'm acquainted and friends with a lot of men who, um, because of their actions, they're divorced and they they have the little apartment and they're envious because she got the house and um, they just didn't go. Some of them did went forward and excelled, but a few that they went backwards. It seemed like, and so I believe men are the ones who have a tendency to regress afterwards.
That is a great point, brother. Those are poignant points. Wow. Isaiah, jump in here. What are you thinking about this conversation? Which sex copes best when living without the other? Is it men? Do men do better without the women, or do women do better without the men?
Um, I would have to agree with my mom for real. Like, we both end up having great internal turmoil, but I do believe, like, to answer the question, that women cope better. Women, they usually they usually just shut off their emotions and then move on and continue on with their life. But I've seen men just crash out for real. Like, and I don't really see a lot of women just crash out after a relationship. They'll just start like picking themselves up and start going on about their life. It's like men, they either crash out or try to like lock into the gym or something like that. Like, because they don't know how to like process their emotions, like as well as a woman. Because since the Most High made women emotional beings, for the Most High didn't make men really emotional beings. He made them more logical, more to lead, and to not get really, that's not really like that. Women, since they're already emotional, they know how to tend to their emotions better than a man can, which leads to being able to cope with with that type of pain better, in my opinion.
That's a great point. Before we land this plane and get to our last topic, I want to say I believe women are 1000% better at living without the opposite sex, living without the men. As Isaiah was saying, I think sisters have been trained since birth to communicate their emotions, so it helps them get over it once they communicate it. And sisters, they hang out with their friends. They're social, right? So they'll go out, they'll go out with their girls and all that. They got plethora of sisters around them. Men don't have any of that, so most of us don't have any of that. So I certainly believe that sisters, and I agree with Sister Cherise that sisters, when I looked at the statistics for divorce, 75% of all divorces are initiated by the woman. So a woman will leave. She will leave. And I agree. Typically, when she's gone, she's already been away. She's already been away mentally. So I 1000% believe that sisters, because of their support system, sisters usually have support system. Um, Men typically don't, and the more something bothers a man, the less he talks about it. And sisters are the complete opposite of that. So, I believe, excuse me, I believe that sisters have that. And I mean, we grew up in the Black community. Most of our women, unfortunately, are single with kids a lot of times. And it's really that's something that's been almost ingrained is that you don't really need a man. Will having a man make life easier? Sure. But men, for us, it's hard for a man to know he's a man without comparing himself to a woman. So because we're teachers and leaders, the way we show love is by teaching. When there's no one to teach, it's really difficult on a man. And as Brother Kevin was saying, um, he many times he will destroy himself without that woman because it's really a pride thing, or I would say ego more than pride. If a woman leaves you, it just crushes his ego more than anything else, because a man would never think that a woman would do this, and sisters, a lot of times men miss the signs. A sister has not been happy for a year, and the man thinks everything's fine. He totally misses all the signs, and that's most men. We miss those signs. So, ultimately, I do believe the sisters are more okay with being alone because they have the support system, all the friends, and all of that stuff. And they can, like you all said, multitask. She could put her mind on many different things. When a man, really, it's all he thinks about. There's that scripture in Ecclesiastes, that says a man, when he loses his woman, that he walks up and down the streets in mourning, because he always reflects back and say, I could have done more. I should have listened better. We're more reflective in that. I can't say that sisters do that, but I've never heard that sisters say, well, do that. So, ultimately, in my opinion, the woman I mean, the first thing we learn about the man is God said it's not good for him to be alone. I mean, that's the first thing God said. So, I agree with God on that. It is not good for a man to be alone. So, okay, we'll close that out. Okay, we'll close out that topic. We're gonna go to our last topic. It's something a little lighthearted. Okay, we're gonna end on a lighthearted note.
I would always offer to pay on a date, but if it's a first or second date and a guy takes me up on it, it would bother me a little bit.
Takes you up on the split,
that's just my own personal thing, and I'm not even going to say it's not totally hypocritical. Like, I can acknowledge that.
You said you would give up. Like, if you had to be submissive and obedient to your husband or boyfriend, you would totally give that up.
I would give up anything. I'm not being submissive.
You had to go 50-50. Right, but so you're enjoying
but I'm going
50-50.
Perks. I mean, I have a very egalitarian marriage. We earn a very similar amount of money. We split bills.
Should a man pay for the first date? Is that something a man should do? That's our first question. Should a man pay for the first date? Why or why not? Brother Kevin, jump in here, please.
I absolutely believe that the man should pay for the first date. The reason is because he's setting the tone. My mother always said, let your first impression be your last impression. So, and also if the man is the one asking the woman on the date, that means he's initiating it. So therefore it's his responsibility to then go ahead and take care of it as well. I've had, in the past, people ask me, hey, no, I got it, because we live in such a modern, independent time. And I'm still like, no, it's all good. I got it. And but I believe ultimately it is the man's responsibility to lead off with the right impression.
Okay. So you say even in the modern time, the man should be the one who takes initiative of that, let's say first or second date. Is that what I'm hearing, brother? Is that what I understand?
That's correct.
Okay, that's a great point of view from a man. Janae, jump in here. What are you thinking on this topic, right? Should a man pay? You heard what the sister said. She says she offers to pay on the first date, yet she would be a bit perturbed if she had to do it. What are your thoughts on this? Should a man pay for the first few dates?
Well, I do think a man should pay for the first date. Because actually I think he should pay for all the dates, but I think, like Kevin said, he took the words right out of my mouth. It sets the tone of the relationship, right? So if you're the man and the leader, you should be paying, because as a leader or as a mother, as a parent, as a father, I don't tell my kids, give me money so we can pay and go have a good time. I'm the leader. as the mother of me and my son, if me and my son go out, I don't tell him, hey, pay, because I'm the one that's in control. So if you want to have a woman that submits to you, then you might want to pay. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem because now I see there's an issue here. I see where your mind is. I don't really like that. You're not really manly to me. You're kind of feminine. If I wanted to go on a outing, I would have went with my girlfriend. I want to go on a date, so that means I want to go. I don't want to pay. Now, if I offered you, hey, you want to go to the movies with me? Then maybe I might offer to pay because I invited you. But at the same time, if I didn't want to pay, I say, hey, you want to pay for me to go to the movies? That I would start with that. So I absolutely think men should pay. That's just how I view it. I think I wouldn't pay. And if I had to pay, I'm probably not going to see you after that first date.
Great points there. Great points. Let's get Sister Franzi in here. Franzi, what are you thinking about this? Should a man pay for the first date? What is it if he doesn't? What does it tell you?
I think a man should absolutely pay, like Janae say, if we're going on a date for all the dates. If I'm going out with a guy and um I have to pay, then I already know who he is. He's not a leader. Now, if you can't pay, I'm not saying for you because there's some women that are they take these things out of control. They want you to take them to a 5-star restaurant and eating a $1,000 meal. That's not what I'm talking about. You don't have to take me out to a 5-star restaurant. We can go out for ice cream. We don't have to go to the most expensive things. Because ultimately I just want to get to know you. It's not about the money. Um, but yes, I feel like if we're going out, even if it's for ice cream or for coffee, you should pay.
That's a good point, sister. And you said that if he doesn't, it presents him, he presents himself as someone who's not leading, right?
And how am I going to respect you? And you want respect, and you want this, and you want that. You should pay because you're the man, you're the leader. So you need to lead. It's like if I'm going to go to the restaurant with my son, like Janae say, if I'm going to the restaurant with my son, I'm like, okay, you're going to pay? I'm the leader of the house. So therefore, I make sure that, but if you're going to take me out, and if you cannot, I'm not saying for you, like I said, I don't need you to take me to a 5-star restaurant. We can go out for ice cream or go for Starbucks. I feel like you should pay.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Let's get Sister Sharice in here. Sister Sharice, should a man pay for the first date, right? If you had a daughter and she was going out on a date, if you had a son and he was going out, he's courting a young lady, what's your opinion on this? Should a man pay for the first, let's just say, first 2 or 3 dates?
So realistically, no. In the world that we live in, no. Because we have to look at dating at this point. So people are on dating apps, they meeting people, they doing this all day long, right? Man meet a woman, hey, they're trying to get to know them, they want to go out. You done brought like 50 meals trying to meet a woman, right? Nobody has time for like 50 meals. Poor man, like that just don't make no sense. So no, I'm telling my son, for one, you're getting to know the person, conversating, you know them enough that when you do go out, you're paying because you already built a rapport with this woman. You're courting her. So you shouldn't be taking nobody out to a date and a woman assuming that he should pay because he a leader. Did we just not talk about men don't even know how to lead? They definitely not trying to pay for your meal, right? So back when I was outside, how I used to handle these situations, if I went out with somebody to eat, we paid for our own meal. And then if we made it to a second date, he paid for the meal. If I had a conversation, so that's meeting someone, you out and they attracted to you, how you doing? Get your number, yeah, yeah. And can I take you out on a date? Sure, you don't talk to them much besides Texas, good morning, now you want to go out, because most men want to go out the next day, they just ready. They're ready to meet and greet. I'm paying for my own food. One, because I've noticed that when a man pays for something, they feel entitled to something. So I'm not looking at them as a leader or not leader at that moment. I'm just really trying to get to know them, really listening to what they're saying. It's funny because when I used to go out, even when I was in my drinking phase, and I'll be out, God come to the bar. He's like, "Hey, what you drinking?" I'm like, "What you drinking?" I'll buy him his drink. And he'll be like, "Wait, hold up. Like, nobody never brought me a drink before. I'm buying you the drink to get out my face." Because I don't date in clubs. I don't meet nobody in the club. I don't date. I literally came here to enjoy myself and leave, not dating somebody's in the club. Because I'm initially believing that I'm have a problem because you're going to want to be in the club instead of a relationship. So I don't date in the club. But ultimately, no. I do agree with the other women on the platform. Ultimately, yes, a man should pay. He's coming in, being a provider, the lead. He coming in, but it's gray areas because that's it depends on the conversation. It depends on a lot of things. And then now, fast forward to where I'm at now, I don't even eat out anymore. So we can't even go on a date. I need to know you well enough where I could cook you a meal. We cooking something together and we doing something like that. So yeah, the whole meal thing, my son not about to be out here. Is just my daughter. I don't even. Yeah, we're not doing no dates. I'm in the parking lot. So
Those are great points. That's fascinating, sister. I never heard that, but I could certainly see the entitlement aspect as a man. Not for me, but generally
they
speaking,
generate.
that's
Yeah, right
fascinating.
now. Yeah, they want something. They looking like, okay, now what you gonna give me?
Mm.
I don't want to be in that situation, so I could pay for my own food.
But you said if you go a second time, then you are more likely to allow this brother to put forth the bill.
Yeah, because we have a conversation. I'm getting to know you a little bit more. If you even made it to a second date, you lucky. So yeah, I'm expecting a different kind of vibe then.
That's interesting. Wow, that's fascinating, sister. Thank you. Let's get some of these young brothers in here. Karan, jump in here, brother. Okay. We're just talking, who should pay for the first date? Should a man, should he be the one paying for the first date? Why or why not in 2025?
So I think for the first date, it depends where are we going. Where are we going for the first date? Because not every first date is somewhere where you necessarily, have to pay for. I mean, some first dates are at the park with a picnic. You bring some food and y'all outside. You know, it's like, but for me, I've always been someone who likes taking care of people. Like even my friends, I've never been opposed to like paying for people, if they ain't got it. And every woman I've had for, I've always paid for them. And that's just me being someone who likes to provide for people. But if I would say if a woman invited you on a date and then expected you to pay for her, I would say that's kind of hypocritical. But I'd say most of the time, a man's inviting a woman on a date. And if you invite a woman out to a date, you should pay for it automatically. I mean, I can't understand inviting someone out and then not being able to pay for everybody you invited out, you know? That's just for me. If I take that's even for a friend. if I invite a friend to a spot, I mean, a lot of my friends, you know, they don't got money. I'll invite them to a spot knowing they don't have money and I'll pay for them because they just know I got them like that. So I expect a man, if his role is a provider, he should be paid. You know, that's just me. But
That's a
I've
great
always
point.
been the man parent.
That's a great point, brother. Let's get Isaiah in here. Isaiah, should a man pay for the first date? What do you think on this? What would what would you say is the appropriate course of action on a first date?
I believe yes, because it sets a leadership tone. And yeah, honestly, that's my pure thoughts. It sets a
You said
leadership
yes.
tone,
Mm-hmm.
because you're showing that you're a provider. That's your first, your first impression. Your impression, you know, I'm able to provide. I'm paying, you know. Yeah.
Great point. Great point. Let's get let's get Sister Danielle in here. Sister Danielle, what do you think on this topic? Should a man pay for the first date, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think if I honestly believe who asks who. I know
Mm,
typically if a man asks a woman, then I would think yes, he should pay. And I know we're kind of in a day and age where women are more seekers as well. And so I would think if they kind of come to a mutual agreement to date, I think one, maybe he can pay and then maybe she can tip. Um,
mm, interesting.
I Usually I would think if I was put in a situation, maybe he could pay and then maybe I can tip. Um, and I'm kind of with Sister Sharice as well, like, because sometimes people look for certain things. I remember seeing a video a while back where this man paid, I think they were in Miami, but he ended up paying for the girl and he was like, well, what did you think? You coming back to my hotel? And it's like, she's like, no. And so he's like, well, he wanted his money back. For the date, but I can agree, and I think it also depends on also learning how to vet people, truly like understanding who you're dealing with. I think that's part of being going on a date to kind of vet this person. So you really should be really paying attention what they're saying, what they're doing. We know actions and words sometimes don't align. And so we kind of need to be vigilant and look for that, more so the action than what they're saying. But
Mhm.
I would think, as everybody has stated, it's just if the guy is looking to lead the relationship, then I think he should go ahead and lead as well. And I think it's important for him too to know who he's dealing with, um, the type of woman he's dealing with as well. But yeah, I think set the tone. I think pay. Again, if she sees interest in you, I would think maybe he can pay and then she can tip or something
Mhm.
along that line.
That's a great that's great. I like that. Sister Angelique, what are you thinking on this? If a man, if you had to pay for your own date, your first date, what is this telling you in your mind? Is this not a serious guy? Is this somebody, hey, you like this egalitarian perspective? Or if you're required to pay for the first date, at least for yourself, what are you thinking?
Someone mentioned earlier about vetting people. I wouldn't be going on a date with a man who expected me to pay for the first date because you're setting a standard. He's setting a standard, and so are you. Um, so my question really is, when did we get away from courting? And I get we live in a different time, but when did we get away from courting and getting to know people and spending time together, even before you go on a date? And that time could be in a public neutral place, or I mean, now we have, FaceTime and all that, so there's plenty of ways, and we can have, like, people go on virtual dates and stuff now too, so there's all kinds of ways that you can get to know someone before you actually um before you physically go out with them. You asked me, the question is if a man should pay for the first date. I do believe that the man should pay for the first date because you are setting the standard. You are the provider. And I think that there, that's just the way that it should be. I know that that's sounds like a real old school answer, but that's just how I feel about it. And again, like personally, I wouldn't date a man who didn't see himself as a provider or who expected me to pay for a first date. Am I opposed to paying for dates and tipping down the line? No. But if it's the expectation or he's looking at me like I'm supposed to kick in and he's asking, and then first of all, you asked me out because that's something else. I don't ask men on dates. I would never do that. I'm not the pursuer. Adam's the pursuer. Adam was here first, and then he went and got Eve. You're here first. You're coming. The Bible says the man findeth a wife, findeth a good thing. So if you found me, you had to date me first, right? You had to take me on a date. You had to pay for the date first. So that's really where I'm coming from. And I think that's just the standard that has to be set. And I do agree with people. I do agree with everyone talking about entitlement. There are men who expect, there are men who feel entitled to certain things when they pay for things. There are also women who feel entitled to a man paying for them and I want to be taken care of and go on trips and all this. I'm not talking about that. I'm not even talking about a sense of entitlement. I'm just talking about who's the provider, who's the nurturer, what role are we in relationship to each other, and men take care of financial stuff, women take care of other stuff. That's just the way it should be. Women should not be out here chasing men. These men who want to be chased, something is wrong with them. Like that's why I said when did we get away from courting? Like that's natural. That's the way it's supposed to happen. I don't care what year it is. That is what is supposed to happen. If you find her, you take care of her, and hopefully you have vetted this woman and you to me, I thought differently in my 20s, but now that I'm a little bit older, to me, I'm looking at dating. I'm dating to marry. So I'm not out here trying to be on no casual with nothing. And my husband will be providing for me starting from the first date. So that's just what it's going to be. And if he doesn't see himself as the provider or he doesn't see someone, he wants me to go 50-50 and all the other craziness that people come up with, he's just not my husband. I'm gonna need him to go figure that out with somebody that they can both sit there and have a sense of entitlements with each other about who's paying for what. Relationships are not transactions. And I think that's what we need to get away from. Sex is not transactional. Like you're really, when you do things like that with people, you are really mixing your energy. That's a spirit. And that's why people get soul ties because you're connected. I mean, it's deeper than just going on a date with somebody. But if we're dating, if we're courting, it's because the intention is that eventually there's going to be a marriage at the end of this courting. So yes, that's the whole from the beginning to the end, what you're setting the standard for and what you're setting the precedence for. And hopefully you're having enough conversations before you go on that first date that I would be having enough conversations with somebody to know where they stand with all of those things. I wouldn't even be trying to talk to somebody who didn't see themselves as somebody who wanted to get married. That wouldn't even work for me. So we ain't even going on a date if you don't want to get married. And that's from date one, because I'm not trying to waste no one's time and I don't want anyone wasting my time. If you want to go be casual, Calvin, handle your business. But that's not where I'm at. I live in a world where I come first and I'm the priority. And that priority looks like you paying for my steak, sir. Yes. Thank you. Good night. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's a great point, sister. That is a great point. Janae, jump in here. What are you thinking about this?
First of all, thank you, Angelique. You said it all, girl. Like, yes, all of that. Because, yes, if we're supposed to be following the word of the Lord, we need to be careful who we choosing to go on a date with.
Facts.
I think, like, if you going with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, then that's on you. Like, but you don't go on every date with everybody just because somebody asked you to go on a date. I think you should talk to that person. That's why we have telephones. So even through these dating apps too, you have messages, you talk with the person, you figure out, is this a person I even want to go on a date with? And then shouldn't that person be wanting to, what types of questions are you asking? Are you just asking surface level questions? Because like she was saying, like, we shouldn't just be dating to be dating. Even in your 20s, you're not supposed to just be dating just to be dating. You're supposed to be looking for a future and a life and a future partner. So I think that's important that we find that, and build your own relationship with the Lord first, because like the Bible says, it's he who finds a wife. So like she was saying, a woman should not be out here looking for no man. Like, that's not your place. You just need to slow your roll. Because I have some single friends, and I'm like, why are you guys out here trying to chase men down? You're going to get the wrong men. So you got to slow down and just work on your relationship with God, like what Eve did was before. And God brought Eve to her man. It wasn't Eve going to chase Adam or looking for Adam. She didn't even know what was going on. So God prepared her to be the wife that Adam needed. And Adam had to be prepared as well. So I think if we slow down a bit, and kind of this new generation stuff, stop trying to just accept the social norms that are going on, because according to social norms, we should be able to change into animals and and anything we want, and that's not of God. You should be able to do whatever you want. I can go in a kitty litter box, and you can I'm coming around and I'm a cat now, and you have to call me meow meow. So like, we have to be very careful with social norms and make sure that we're following God's law at all times. And that goes in with small things as such as dating, which really isn't a small thing. But definitely a man should be paying, because you're the leader and I'm a girl. And I say this a lot. I'm a girl. I'm just a girl. So, and I thank God that I have my husband and I don't have to deal with today's times, because, oh my God, I feel for you guys. I do. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Angelique.
So let's get Sister Sharice in here. What are you thinking about this, sister? What's your opinion on what you're hearing right now?
Just bouncing off of what Janelle was saying. That's just right. Because of the social norms. So of course everybody up here is, righteously correct, right? We're gonna do things in a manner that is in order, aligned with covenant. So we all there. We understand that. But the people who are still living in the matrix, right? We are in a hookup culture. We are living in a space where and I say we, like, I be like they. Everything is they. They, them, the Legion people. They are living in hookup culture. And so living in that space, you are cautious when you're going out on a date. You are paying for your own food. You are possibly leaving the date because you done heard some things that sound like you might get raped. You are bringing weapons with you on the date. Like, just seriously, you don't know what to expect. You got people tracking your phone, like, hey, I'm over here. If I don't text you every hour on the hour, call the police. Seriously, it's like, this is what's going on. So being worldly correct, you gotta be careful. That's just it. Um, Men are not out here being leaders; they being predators.
That's a
They,
great point.
they that's it.
That's a great point, sister. Let me get Brother Kevin in here, and then we'll get to the final aspect of this question. Brother Kevin, what are you thinking about what you're hearing here?
Well, I just wanted to give a little more context to the statement of setting the tone or standard by paying on the first date. I believe essentially what it's saying is that you're continuing, or excuse me, you're making a commitment or an investment into this woman from the start. By making that, to some, I would call it a small gesture of paying for a date. But yeah, I think it's an investment in the woman that you've taken the time to properly vet and get to know. And also, if you are choosing, excuse me, to have her as a wife, you've already vetted her, and she's also displaying, if I can expound on that scripture, when people say, he who findeth the wife, that's not saying you're finding a woman and when you put a ring on her finger, she becomes a wife. No, that woman's already exhibiting the attributes and characteristics of a woman who is a wife. So you found that, and then you're choosing to invest in that by making a first statement of taking her on a date. I think in the modern times that we live in now, a lot of people are so caught up and impressed by gestures as opposed to the person. And that can be very daunting. So like Janae said, I'm happy I'm not in some ways still in that dating culture of today with a lot of the standards that people have set. And I quite frankly think it's ridiculous, a lot of these new age ways of dating. And as Angelique was saying, courting, in my opinion, courting has become texting and online swiping, and that's what a lot of these people see courting as. And so the traditional form or sense of courting that we knew it was to be in a lot of our times has been null and void. So yeah, I just believe ultimately that it's an investment by making that first, if you ask me, minute gesture to pay for a date.
That's a great point. And the last part of this question is, can a woman or will a woman submit to a man that goes 50-50? If a man goes 50-50, we're not talking about the date, we're just speaking generally now. Can a woman submit to a man like that? Will she submit to a man where she's paying 50-50?
I'm gonna jump in and I will say it depends because like we talked about earlier, like maybe the woman's making more. So maybe all the man can afford is 50-50, right? And still be able to take care of, whatever his other responsibilities are. So I would say just depends, and it depends on the caliber of man that you have. Can I trust this man in other areas? Because if we are a team and we are one, sometimes one team member is carrying more weight over here, the other one's carrying more weight over there. So I think finances is always touchy. But if you're really truly a team, then what matters is, are the bills paid? Have you had that conversation? If you feel some type of way, let's say you are going 50-50 and you're the woman and you feel some type of way about it. Maybe you should say, hey, I don't feel like I want to be doing this no more. But at the same time, if, like I said earlier, we live in a society where one income ain't gonna take care of you in this society. Like you really do need two incomes. And so that does fail the family a little bit because less time is spent with the children because both parents are away. So that kind of does fail the family. So I just think it kind of depends on the situation. So I think it's possible, for sure, but it's probably not ideal, but it's definitely possible. Just depends on what's going on in your particular relationship. But yeah.
Great points. Great points. Let's get Sister Sharice in here on this topic. What are you thinking, sis?
So personally, I don't believe in 50-50 under no circumstances. I believe in wherever the person is at the time. It may be 100 sometimes, it may be 90-20, it may be 80-40. You just meet the person where they at. I feel like it becomes transactional when we have set things that we pay because it starts to get looked at as, well, okay, she paid 300 for this, and then I paid 200 for that. And so now I'm over here. I'm like, okay, he need to pay $100 more because I'm not liking how these numbers is adding up. And you missed the whole point of the oneness. If I'm in a household and I am picking up the slack for everything other than the bills, that might as well be 50-50. Me actually paying something that you can take account of and you need that, then we're not one. We're partners. This is a situationship. This is we roommates. Like we not together. Um, where there's two incomes in the home, there should be an understanding initially out the gate. You if we're we passed the courting stage, you want to marry me 6 months later, we about to be getting married. We have already had that conversation where you're handling everything, the majority of everything, right? I may pick up food, I do the food part and whatever is needed around the house is understanding. But if you come back and now you want 50-50, you might as well divorce me because at that point we have a hard problem. Houston, we have a problem because now I'm looking at what did you do with your finances that you didn't express to me that now you need me to pay half of everything? You made some decision that I'm not aware of, and now I have to pay half of everything. So no, ultimately, I don't feel like that. If you went into the marriage or the relationship and we already agreed to 50-50, then I feel like, yeah, it works for people. It's not unworkable. It's not condemned, but it still sets the stage for your relationship. It's transactional. And the moment that you can't do your part, there's a problem.
That's a great point. That's a great perspective, sister. Let's get Franzi in here. Sister Franzi, what are you thinking about this? Could you submit to, or would a sister submit to a man who is going 50-50? What's your thoughts on this?
It depends. A conversation has to be had. Um, it all depends. Now, when I was younger, with no responsibilities and no nothing, um, I would say, maybe yes. But the thing is, you could be with a person and you have to put more. Maybe you have more children and more, and you have to put more. So I really think it has to be a conversation. But the thing is, if you're one, if you're truly one, the amount of who put what, it shouldn't matter. If you're truly one, it really depends. I just feel like it has to be a conversation and you have to be vetted. And what if I can't put my 50-50 today? And what if you know, what if you can't do your whole 50-50? Or what if you have child support or other things that are going on? It all depends. But if you're, taking all your money and then you're buying every new sneaker there is and buying every new video games there is, then there's a problem. But I feel like if you're truly being a man of God and you're truly a leader, I feel like it really doesn't matter. We're going to help each other. We become one. I just want to go back on one thing also, before with the dating, about paying. Um, I don't do dating apps. I don't do dating apps and I don't court men. Men court me. I don't do dating apps because I feel like that's a way the devil is distracting you, putting too much in front of you so quickly to distract you so you don't have time to vet, and then he gets in there into the relationship. So I don't believe in dating apps. That's just me because it's easy for you to swipe. and not really know the person. I feel like the person that God is going to send you is going to be in person. There's going to be a way that God is going to make you, just like when Jesus Christ went to the well and met the woman. You're going to meet the person. You if God wants you to meet the person, you don't need to be online. I feel like it's just too there's too much demons in there.
That's a great point, sister. That you made some excellent points there. Let's get Brother Quran in here. Brother Quran, do you think it would be difficult for a woman to submit to a man that is 50-50 as it pertains to the the bills?
I would say no, because like Franzi said, made me realize, a marriage, you're becoming one. You know what I'm saying? When you lay down, you have that marriage, you're becoming one. So if a man is paying for everything and a woman's working, like if she's not working, obviously he's doing the majority of the things. But if they're both in this relationship and he's paying for everything, where's her money going? Is she just saving up in case, what I'm saying, they divorce and she just leaves with all her money? I'm just saying, like, I think they should set up something where they both know what each other's spending on and they manage the money in a way where if we're both working, we're doing what needs to be done to provide for the household. Whatever, if we have, this many kids, we're putting this much out. And, a lot of couples have joint accounts. I mean, it just comes with if the trust is there, if you trust that this marriage is going to last forever, I mean, you wouldn't be secretive with your money and you're going to be willing to put out what needs to be put out. And I don't think a woman who would submit, I think a woman could submit to that relationship, you know, because I mean, you're both working for a reason. Like if the woman didn't need to work to provide and the man could do everything, then I believe that would be done. But obviously, if she's working and he's working, then or it's just a point where she was working before. I mean, it's a different society than before. Like you said, like 60 to 80 years ago, a man would just be working and providing everything for the household. But it's different than before, you know. And I think ideally, like I'd say ideally we would bring both of our finances together and probably somebody's managing the finances, probably the woman, probably your woman's managing the finances, you know.
That's a great point. You made some really good points there, brother. Yeah, those are really good points, really good questions you're asking there. Let's get Sister Danielle in here. What are you thinking about this topic, sister? Do you think that a woman, generally speaking, can or would be willing to submit to a man who is going 50-50?
Um, like everybody said, I think it truly depends on both individuals. Um, I'm wondering because when I hear 50-50, is it just like in finances or is just down the middle? Because I do believe it's not always 50-50. Like I know in a perfect world, there's going to be one person doing more than the other. And so I would think like if the woman is doing 50-50 plus handling majority of the housework, I think it can become overwhelming eventually. But if we're gonna agree, and do this, and it is marriage, of course, we're supposed to be, I think we've kind of gotten away from the term marriage when we think about it, from, the Most High's eyes. When he married, of course, when he talks about him in Israel being, the bride, I think what it's supposed to be is all in. We're supposed to be all in to a marriage. And I think when you are hiding, of course, like finances and things like that, it becomes a little bit tricky. And so we're supposed to be one. And to me, that doesn't move in oneness. But I think if we can come to an agreement, you know, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, then I think she can, of course, submit to that. I think she would need to know what's the goal, What's the vision? What's the end goal? And I think we both can move toward making that happen. Of course, um, keeping the Most High first and foremost, and then making sure we do our part, of course, and then back each other up. You know, a lot of communication. Um, but I think she's definitely willing to. She can submit, of course, but again, it has to be kind of split. Are we talking 50-50, or are we just talking finances? But I think it's something that kind of need to be discussed. But I do believe she can submit.
You made some fine points there, sister. Very fine points that I don't think any of us thought of. Let's see. Let's get Sister Angelique in here. Sister, what are you thinking about this? Can a woman or would a woman be willing to submit to a man who's going 50-50 on the finances?
For some people, it works. We don't, I agree with, honestly, with what everyone else has been saying about us living in a time now where you really can't make it in a one income household. And I know, like, I think I don't think it's about submitting to a man just about finances. I think it's submitting to a man who's submitted, not I think, I believe that it is about submitting to a man who is submitted to God and who is submitted to, living with integrity and doing the right thing and, just living a righteous life. And I don't think it's possible I don't care how much money a man makes. If he's not submitted to God, you should not be submitting to him, whether he's paying 100% of the bills or it's 50-50. And that's just what that is. But if we're talking strictly finances, I don't believe that a woman, because I think when we talk about 50-50, women hear that and we tend to think off top, he can't take care of me. So if something happens, he can't take care of me. And so it's not that the value is in his money. It's just like I was talking to my sister the other day and she was saying that she did not want to be with a man who does not have a 401k and a pension because when he stops working, she wants him to be able to take care of her. And her opinion was that a man that doesn't have a 401k isn't in the right mindset. I could see where she's coming from, but at the same time, I disagree because we've all been in places where we wanted to invest in a 401k, but the way our paycheck is set up, we ain't got it like that just yet. And so, can a woman submit to a man with a 50, if she's going 50-50 with him, if they're just straight up 50-50, I'm going to say no because she doesn't see him as a provider. She doesn't see him as someone who can like it's almost like if the woman feels like the man needs her to pay bills and can't make it without her, then her value to him instantly decreases. And the other part of that, while I say that, when I was married before, my husband and I paid bills, but we didn't go 50-50. And it worked for us because people come into marriage with stuff that they're already paying. They're paying child support, they're paying car insurance, they're paying life insurance. They already have established things that they're paying for of their own that they continue to pay for when they get married. And honestly, for a man, y'all's bills go up because when you're married, like again, when I got married, my husband put me and my kids on his insurance. So there's more taken out of his check. So it might look like it might have looked like we were going 50-50 because I was paying bills, but we weren't going 50-50. He was paying a majority of the bills. And I think that in that circumstance, and I've heard other sisters say it on the call that's an okay situation because it works for us and it worked for us and what our finances look like and what we were coming in with. I had a savings account. He did it. I stewarded the money and all of that. So I think that just hearing 50-50 turns women off, to be completely honest. So I think just off that alone, a woman won't submit to a man because that's just, she wants to be taken care of financially.
You made some excellent points there, sister. Very poignant. Janae, jump in here. What are you thinking on this topic here?
Yeah, so like the 50-50 term, I don't like that term, but what I was saying earlier is like if you don't have enough, you don't have enough, right? And I think you guys kind of talk about that in the beginning as far as who's paying what or like how much you make, because we need to know like can we afford, what lifestyle can we afford, right? So if we're going to move into a place and we're renting, can we afford the rent? If we're going to move buy a house, can we afford the mortgage? So these are things that should be talked about in the first place. And so I think Sister Cherie said it, that term. She doesn't believe in that either, and I don't either. I believe in 100. I give 100, you give 100, which means I give 100% of what I can give of myself, and that's not just financial, but 100% of my life. Like, and you should be giving 100% of your life, and that's how we become whole, and that's how we become one, and that's how we get through this life together. So money really shouldn't, it matters because we need to survive, right? But it doesn't at the same time. Like I think Sister Francie said on the last piece about the dating, like you can take me out for an ice cream cone. It's not about how much money you're spending. Or and I think Karan said going out on a picnic. It's not about that. It's about your effort. It's about how you're taking care of me. How do I feel? Do I feel taken care of? Do I feel safe? Do I feel secure? And all of those things. So the money part doesn't really matter. Just long as we can survive, long as we are able to eat every day, long as we're able to have a roof over our heads, long as we're able to have reliable transportation. And what does that look like? So I definitely would say 100 if you're getting in a relationship with someone, view it as 100 not 50-50, because when you give in 50, there's another 50 you have to give. And then that's where infidelity comes in, because you have more you can give out. So always give your complete self 100% and not just half. Well, I'll give half of my money, or I'll give half of the cooking job that I could do. I could cook this meal the best, but I'm just going to give 50% because we 50-50. So as Sister Angelique said, women, we don't like that. That's a huge turn on 50-50. As soon as I hear 50-50, I hear weak. So I don't want that. So yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you.
That's a great point. Very poignant points. Let's get brother Kevin in here. What are you thinking on this topic, brother?
I think that I wanted to just say something in regards to I know sometimes people have been through past traumas and stuff that they've dealt with. And I've heard some people kind of dance around it and talk about it in regards to, accounts and this and that. I believe for a man, he has to set the tone. So if a woman has had past trauma and history with money issues and distrust and having people take advantage of her, my personal opinion, I would feel like, okay, then therefore I have to show her. So you distrust me being on your account. Well, let me let you have access to mine. So that is giving her kind of a template to follow, essentially, if I'm going to express to be a leader. So then she sees, wow, this guy's giving me complete access to his account. Maybe I should do likewise. Maybe, you know what I mean? But I definitely think that we have to lead, and if we're going to lead and not just say that we're the leaders, I think it has to show up in other places as well.
Wow, that's great points, brother. That is great points. Let's get Isaiah in here. Isaiah, do you believe that a woman should be or would be willing to submit if she's paying half?
I think I feel like it depends on the level of maturity that the woman is at. and the man is at. I think maybe like at first in the relationship, she would be willing for that, but then it's like over time. I feel like over time, I feel like a mature woman wouldn't always go for that. Maybe at first, and then like over time, they would be like, dang, you know, like it just doesn't really like go because like the man is supposed to like provide and like do like the hard labor and stuff while the woman like tends to the children and whatnot. Like maybe like it's kind of hard. I feel like it should be 51-49. The man being that 1% more and the woman being that 1% less, just because the man is supposed to be a leader. But I feel like at first, I feel like at first the woman would be willing, but then later on, spiritually down the line, she'll like maybe if she's not spiritual, just like deep down within her, she's gonna realize that this isn't like really it, and then she'll probably be like plotting that breakup later on. I feel like.
That's a great point. That is a really, really good point. Does anyone else want to jump in on this before we land this plane? Let's jump in here, Karan. What are you thinking on this? Should a woman or could a woman, would a woman submit to a man if she's putting up 50 or half? Excuse me.
I already get my opinion, but I
Oh,
was just on camera.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah, well, I think from my perspective, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in 50-50. I do believe the man should carry the heavier burden because the woman's the weaker vessel. And if she's the weaker vessel, she shouldn't have to carry half of the burden. It's not a biblical concept, in my opinion. So I believe that the man should carry more of the weight, all the way around, not really just when it comes to finances. I believe when it comes to initiative of getting things done, whether that's cars need to be fixed or anything else for that matter. I do believe the man should. Now, I also believe that a sister could, depending on where she is with their walk with God. I believe a sister could submit to it because out, if not, then what she would be saying is, hey, my submission is conditional. And I don't think uh, I don't know how that would work off. You know what I mean? That hey, because then the man could say the same thing. Well, my provision is conditional, and so I would have to agree with Janae that everybody puts in 100%. And I think for sisters, really, it's not about how much money the man makes; it's about how he spends the money. Right? Does he spend money on his woman? If he don't spend any money on her, I don't believe she can feel secure. So I don't, even if she makes more money than the brother or whatever the case is, I believe she could still feel secure if all the other ancillary, maybe the primary, but the ancillary things, which is his leadership, his trust, so forth and so on, his initiative is there, his spiritual leadership is there. I do believe that she could, even though I don't believe in 50-50. I believe the man should carry the heavier burden. Let's get Sister Sharice in here.
I believe that the woman is already doing 50-50 because of the things that she's doing around the house in itself. If there's children there, she's taking care of the children. She's doing homework. If she does have a job, she's working. Um, it's a lot that goes into that. Again, like everybody on the panel was saying different things, and those are all accurate. The times we live in, helping out your partner, um, having a situation going into it, and we just trying to balance out the household, right? And I'm on the same page with you when it comes to no, the woman shouldn't be paying nothing at all because if you're in a marriage, then you already knew that I could provide for my family. Other than that, you shouldn't be in a relationship, right? If you can't provide for your family, because you was providing for yourself before I even came into the picture. So if you was able to sustain for yourself when you sought out a wife, you was like, okay, can I take care of this wife and these kids? So, because she's coming in, and if there's children, she's mothering the children, right? Biblically, she's mothering the children. Because just like, who was that? That was Isaac, wasn't it? Who went to go see his son Ishmael, right? Am I right? And
Yeah, you
the
speak
wife,
Abraham. Yeah.
yeah, Abraham, and the wife wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. You know, he came to the tent. She was unruly. She didn't offer him nothing to drink, nothing to eat, and he pretty much, she doomed herself. But he pretty much was like, "Hey, the nail in the tent, change it out, right?" And he changed it out immediately. He understood what his father was saying. So we're already doing a substantial job when we walk into that marriage. We're taking on a lot outside financially. And again, like everybody on here said, it's not a financial obligation when it comes to 50-50. The world paints this picture. So every time you say 50-50, it's when it's being said, it's about finances. It's, hey, you pay half of the bills, I pay half of the bills. But if I'm paying half of the bills, as Janelle said, well, then I'm giving half of the every. You must be you helping me take care of the kids. We taking turns doing homework. We shuffling around. You cooking some days, I'm cooking some days. Like we. I'm not doing all of these things and paying half of all the bills. I'm just not doing it. It makes absolutely no sense. We as women, we have so much on us, and taking on so much burden that I don't think that men really understand that part, that they do, not that we're taking it away from them, but they get a lot more downtime than we do as women.
Mm, that's a great point. That's something I haven't thought of. I would have to agree with you on that, sister. I would certainly have to agree with it. And really, brothers and sisters, this is food for thought. We're going to have thousands of brothers and sisters listening into these experience perspectives. And I think this was an amazing episode because we all have a different perspective, and I believe that our audience and our digital disciples will the things that they heard from you brothers and sisters today will help them formulate their opinions. So I really appreciate brothers and sisters coming out for this episode of Righteous Reactions, and we want to say Kwam Yasharala, Sin No.
Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.